Now Sweeney, Dwayne Sweeney! Sweeney's over!
Can you please hand it over to your captain, Dwayne Sweeney?
Welcome to Real Tales with Sweens, proudly brought to you by Fish City Hamilton. Fish City has been servicing Waikato's fishing, boating and outdoor needs for over 30 years. Now, with the help of their online store, their great range of products and outstanding customer service are available across New Zealand. This episode, I sit down with the founding fathers of Fish City Hamilton, Ross, Jono and Kev. All three share the highs, lows and their learnings of 30 years in business together. We discuss a wide range of topics, such as how the business came to be, Jono becoming New Zealand's first ever marine technician apprentice, the focus they have on creating a strong team culture, and the joy it brings them to see their team develop. We also discuss how the business has had to move and adapt with the times, the strangest requests from customers, displaying their personal fishing gear to make it look like they have more stock, and so much more. As always, the show notes will be available on Real Tales with Sweens Instagram and Facebook pages, as well as the website realtaleswithsweens.com. Good George have a 15% discount available for all you listeners. Just use the discount code REALTALES before checking out of their online store. The link for their store is also available on the realtaleswithsweens.com homepage. Lastly, I want to say a big thanks to Ross, Jono and Kev for sharing their tale of 30 years in business. It was great to get insight of Fish City Hamilton and what it takes to be one of New Zealand's leading fishing, boating and outdoor stores. So join me as we get to know the tale of Fish City Hamilton. Well, the three founding fathers. Cool, so welcome back to another episode. I've got Ross, Jono and Kev, the three founding fathers of Fish City in Hamilton, and 30 years this year, boys.
This month.
Or this month, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got the big celebration coming up on the 12th and 13th of November.
Yeah, we thought 30 years in business is worth celebrating, so yeah, we're having a bit of a shindig. So bit of an event down here with a lot of our suppliers coming down, helping out. They're all keen to get involved and contacted most of our regular customers, so hopefully they'll all call in and catch up, have a barbecue and see a few new things and talk to a few people and have a bit of fun.
Yeah, nice. I guess just to start us off, I suppose just a little bit of a brief introduction from each of you and what is your area of expertise within the business or organisation, and then we'll just sort of go from there.
Alright, so basically I knew Kevin and Jono before. I had a bit of a plan to set up a fishing shop, and so I got hold of Kevin and we discussed it, told him what I wanted to do. We're remembering back a fair old way now, but he was already in the industry, weren't you, Kev?
Yeah, I was working in a local general sports store that sort of diversified into a bit more fishing gear, and Ross was actually one of my customers then, so that's how I got to know Ross, and John used to come into the store on a Friday night after work as well. So yeah, we all sort of knew each other prior to Fish City.
Yeah.
And I had at that stage had a car repair business, and I'd had enough of fixing cars, and I got right back into my recreational fishing, a bit like how you get the bug, as you know.
Yeah.
And I thought, no, I'd love to have a full-time fishing shop in Hamilton. There was one in those days up in Newmarket called Just Fishing. And Mark Kitteridge used to work there with Tony Bishop, and they had a great little shop, and I used to go up there when I was in Auckland, and I loved going into a fishing only shop because they knew what they were talking about and they got great service. So I had the idea that would be really cool for the people in the Waikato down here, and that I'd like to head it up, and I knew that I needed some expertise with Kev, and So we had a good discussion and we got quite keen and excited, didn't we, Kev?
Yeah. Like as Ross says, I had already had contacts with a lot of those suppliers in the industry anyway. So once we sort of hatched a bit of a plan, it was a bit of a visit to Auckland, wasn't it? And go out and approach a lot of those suppliers and explain the business plan and what we thought about, we're thinking about doing.
Yeah. So there was nothing like that here in Hamilton at that point in time.
Just in those days, there was general sports shops, but there was a hunting, diving, fishing shop down in Hood Street in the old days. Yeah. So there was one.
Hood Street's changed a bit then.
Yeah.
That's where Diggers is.
Yeah. Basically. Where Diggers Bar is.
Yeah.
And Rog actually was working there then, and he came and worked for us at a later date in our dive department when we did diversify into that. But the goal was originally to just be good at fishing and do that. Then when we started to put that plan together, and I told another one of my fishing associates, the guy that actually owned Ramco Boats, his name was Bill Mackerel, and he said to me, if you're doing a fishing shop, you should sell boats and motors. And I said, I hadn't thought about that. And he said, no, just start off small, with a couple of boats. And I said, it'll be real small. So, because we put all our investment into fishing gear, anyhow, we took his advice and he jacked up a meeting with Mercury, the importers of Mercury, with Stars Marine back in 92. They were keen to have a go, and because I've known Jono, because I've done a bit of, we'd already done some family class ski racing, with small boats and trying to have fun in the bridge to bridge, and so I knew Jono really well. I was working at an existing marine shop. I approached him and said, hey, look, we're thinking of getting the Mercury franchise and Ramco franchise, and would you be keen to come on board? And he took a huge leap of faith coming on board with Kev and I with the tackle shop plan, because he left you had a young family then, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
So you left a stable job and came and took a risk of being with Kev and I, and luckily it's paid off, and I've been able to pay you every week. Haven't missed in a year, 30 years.
But those early days were, we certainly winged it to a degree in those early days. I mean, Ross and I both wore our own personal fishing gear and displayed in the shop just to make it look like we actually had a little bit of stock there. So we do all sorts of ingenious things such as that.
You had mirrors on the wall to make the three upwards look like six. Smoking mirrors.
It's clever.
Smoking mirrors.
Yeah. Well, I suppose Hamilton's when you think about, when I think about Hamilton now, it's a real hub for that kind of industry. It seems to be it's a pretty big pastime of a lot of people within our region to get out on the water in some form. We've got the river, we've got the lake right there, then we've got both coasts within an hour and a half's drive, access to the Firth of Thames. It's a pretty ingenious
good
city
central place,
to start up.
And that's why there's a lot of opposition here now. They saw it too. It was a good market. It's a good market. Probably the percentage of fishermen down here in the Waikato is probably quite high on average, because lots of the tradies and fishermen, tradies are fishermen, and the farmers love fishing, and we're lucky. Although people look at you and they say, why have you got a fishing shop in Hamilton? That you're not by the coast, but everybody's got a car and everyone's got usually a trailer boat or a marina at Tauranga or Auckland. So the people that are in here, sort of landlocked in the middle, they still like getting away to the beach and enjoying the fishing. So we knew the market was there. It was just we didn't realise how big it was, and it's been good to us. And we got in probably earlier than everybody else, which got us a good foot in the door. So,
Jono, coming over in those early days, did you see it as bigger, I suppose, risk as what was kind of mentioned there with the young family? Or did you just believe in the vision, I guess?
No, well, see, where I was, it was winding down a bit. It wasn't as busy, and the company wasn't managed that well, and I could see it was failing. So Before that, I did 12 months at Roden Sport because I'd left that other company, and then I was at Roden Sport doing the marine side there because they'd taken on Reflex boats and Suzuki outboards. So that's where I was when Roscoe contacted me. I don't think I was that worried really. I was excited about the new venture and you know, the possibility of what lay ahead and stuff. So now I just jumped in boots and all, and
Yeah.
it was all good. Yeah.
Yeah. So were you pretty busy like in those early days?
At Fish City. Yeah. Because once my customers had realised I'd gone, they started hunting me down, and we even put a sign up on the western wall of the shop we were in, or the workshop, first shop. John Houston Outboards, just because Davies Transport was over there, or one of those old gardening type places. It was Davies over there, you get topsoil and sand and stuff. So that was so busy that I think, you know, we thought people would see the wall as they left. So put a sign up there, and yeah, quite soon after people were coming in looking for me, and yeah, so just retained a whole lot of customers from there.
You had a pretty good reputation in Hamilton as a marine tech in those days.
Yeah.
So when he came and worked for us, he sort of brought his clientele with us, so that even gave us a good start.
Yeah.
And as did Kevin from working in the sports shop in town. Lots of people knew him, and as soon as they got to know, you know, that he was down there, they knew that he was a good operator and knew about tackle and fishing and stuff. And when we first set up, we did a double page spread in the Fishing News with Grant Dixon. He started about the same time, and it just, people started. I was pleasantly surprised. You know, the first day we opened, people started coming in the door and buying bits and pieces. And that first day, Kevin, we worked everything out, but we forgot to have a till float. We had to run across to the pie shop and get some change for a guy because we didn't have any. I think I had to borrow some money off you or something like that because we forgot to do it.
Yeah, that's funny, because like I was thinking just the other day actually how things have changed even from that side of things. You know, back in the day, you had people writing checks and paying with cash, and EFTPOS was only sort of a new thing.
Yeah.
And whereas now, look how many different payment methods we have to try and manage and provide. You know, so yeah, she's certainly a more complex business model now than what it was back then.
Yeah.
The Zip Zap Visa card.
Oh, you had the old Zip Zap
That's
as well.
right. Manual zip zap.
Yep.
Some of the young guys down here wouldn't know what that was.
I'd never have seen one.
Nah, they wouldn't have, eh? Yeah, now they got bloody Afterpay, PayWave, all these like pay on your phone.
Yeah.
It's definitely.
So we were in
changing
92.
times.
How old were you, Dwayne? In 92?
92,
When were you
I
born?
was 8.
8 years old.
Yeah, I was born 84, so yeah.
Yeah.
Because the original location wasn't here where we're based now either, is it?
It's only like 70 metres to the left and there's other where Springy is and
Yep.
Cycle Time.
Oh, yep.
So that was the second location. The first one was down the other end of the same building in the small end.
Yeah.
And then we moved into Springy's after a couple of years, 2 or 3
Yeah,
years.
I think it was about 3 years.
Did the same in that one 2 or 3 years, and then moved over to this one, which we've been here for 24 years, something
I
like
think
that.
it was 97 or 98 we moved from there to there.
Yeah. So we haven't moved far,
Nah.
but yeah, stayed in the same location, but just got bigger premises each time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, it's a pretty good spot to get to with, you know, a boat and a trailer, eh?
Yeah,
Like, I suppose, was that thought out when you originally came out here?
Well, when we started, we never realised it would be this big. We thought we'd sell a few boats here and there, and, you know, we'd tick away and a few fishing rods and that. But you know, we've ended up now, like this business now supports, with the factory across the road, it supports 45 people, you know, and their families and that. So it's quite a big venture now, and it's not just a small business, you know. It's probably medium to large, and
You know, that first shop, there wouldn't have been room for more than 3 or 4 boats out on the front grass verge there, you know. Nowhere really
No
in
yard.
front of the building itself to park a boat or do anything with.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
We used to bring 2 or 3 boats and we pushed them around the back and into the showroom at night time. So yeah, so like the beginnings were really small, like really just the 3 of us, your workshop, you doing the tackle and me, and I'm trying to trade and buy and sell a few boats and motors here and there, you know. So it was pretty small when we started.
Yeah, we probably did those first sort of 6 to 8 months, just the 3 of us really, until we got some help. We had a young guy that started in the showroom. I think actually Richard Hart from Raglan was actually my first helper in the showroom.
Oh yeah?
Back then, yeah. So,
Well, he's got his own tackle and is tackle and what is homeware store? Homeware
Tackle shop out of Raglan.
Yeah.
So Richard, he would have only just sort of left school then, and he's worked in the industry as a boat builder, and then in retail and that in the industry pretty much ever since. So
Because they do say don't mix your passion with work, but you guys have all done that. And well, for me personally, like coming in, like I said off here earlier, like I come into the store because of the environment that is here and the people, like you said originally starting at Ross, you like going to that store because they do it, they fish, they give you great advice, great knowledge, and I guess it's the kind of secret and the key to the recipe, right? You got to be passionate about what you're delivering to your customers.
Yeah, I've always said, and I still say it to a lot of the young guys that I employ now, you know, the biggest thing we sell here is knowledge and passion for what we do. I think that's still true to this day.
You see it with all those boys down in the showroom. I'm here more often than I should be. Kev's probably rolling his eyes going, oh, he's turned up again, the boys won't do anything, they'll talk about fishing for an hour. But it's like contagious to be around people that, you know, have that knowledge and that like real passion for what they do. And because I'm the same, you know, I'm extremely passionate about fishing, and all my listeners know that, and anyone that meets me, it doesn't take long for me to start talking about fishing. And it is awesome to, I guess, see that it's really visible when you come into the shop. And a lot of people that I talk to that come and shop here as well, they say the exact same thing, so it's pretty cool. So back, you mentioned it a little bit there, but Jono and Ross, you had a bit of a relationship around the boat racing early on. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the bridge, you've got a few records in that, Ross?
Yeah, well, that's a funny story because Jono and I started doing it as a thing called family class, and it's still going now. They had a 90 horsepower class and a 140 and then a 200, something like that. Mm-hmm. So we started out at the 90 horsepower class, and we got a little light tinny and put a great big 90 on it and did that, but we soon learned that just putting a bigger motor on doesn't necessarily make it go fast. It went faster, but not as fast as we wanted, and it didn't handle very good. And anyhow, we learned a lot in the early days. Had a lot of fun, and then we raced cabin, my fishing boat that I was fishing in. So we put that in there in the 90 class, and we learned a whole lot about that. And I used to look at the guys that had the bullets and the real fast boats and go, "Wow, that'd be cool to do that one day." And we never really got into that big time, did we? Until about 96, once we had this shop. And then we were Mercury dealer. We'd become the #1 Mercury dealer in town, and Mercury brought a new 225 3-litre fuel injected motor out, and we thought, shit. I went to the press release and I thought, that's pretty cool. We should get one of those, and we should campaign that, because in those days there was quite a lot of Yamahas and OMCs, you know, Evinrudes and so on. I thought, well, the Mercs have got a race background, but in Hamilton they've never been promoted. So I thought, well, that's our job as the Merc dealers. We'll start promoting them in the racing. So I purchased a Bullet, and I was going to sponsor a chat, but then that fell through, and then so I purchased a Bullet off Kevin Harrison, the late Kevin Harrison, who was a famous ski racer. And we brought one of these motors off Mercury, and they gave us a great deal because we told them we were going to race it. But I couldn't drive boats in those days. I'd never driven a Bullet, so we got a guy called Mike Ashton, and he raced it, and we won a few races with this motor. It was really strong. It was fast out of the box. It was a real cool, like most Mercs are, strong. So we campaigned that, and then I slowly started driving it, and when we were running it in, and got used to driving it a bit, and then I started entering in a few of the lower class races, and I sort of got the bug, I suppose, and started driving back in late 96, 97, and then I worked my way up through into the modified classes, and then the twin rigs, and then I ended up right at the top class with a twin turbo boat that was like 1200 horsepower and 120 mile an hour. So I bought that in Australia, and Jono's obviously worked on all of those boats all the way through, setting them up and making sure they're going good, handling well and fast, and I ended up taking that to Long Beach, California, to the World Champs, and we won a World Championship here in New Zealand in 2007, junior boys towing Jaron Fritz, and then I retired, and so we'd done a lot of racing over that time, and set up other customers' boats. We'd sell a lot of Mercury motors, and they'd come in, and Jono would get all the steering right for them and get it at the right height, and then I knew about the props, and so once again, that's the same passion as having that passion and mechanical knowledge, and like we had for fishing, we love fishing, and we love the racing as well. So we did that at the same time, and had a lot of good results with a lot of teams, and then after that World Championship, I retired and I sold that big boat, and then a few years later, some guys knew another friend of mine, and they brought an old boat called Under Siege, and they built a really big motor for it, and they had it all set, and they said, we've got this boat but we can't drive it, could you drive it for us, we'll pay for everything. And I'm going, that's the sort of racing I want to be involved in, because it's pretty expensive, that stuff.
Yeah.
So these guys, Merv and Wexy, we did a few mods and we got that going, and since then we've won. I won it in Top Gun, and I won it in Mock, and then we've won it 3 times with Under Siege, and we've set big record jumps. So it's a pretty fast boat. It's about 1400 horsepower, old style muscle, like a muscle car, but a muscle boat.
Yeah.
Big supercharger on it, real loud, and it goes really well. So we've got some good skiers that come over from Aussie. So yeah, we're up next weekend and we are retiring permanently this time.
Oh, okay.
So it's our last race this year,
Yeah.
and we're hoping to have a good showing in that. And yeah, it'll be exciting next weekend.
Yeah. So for you, Jono, around that mechanical side, that must be pretty darn exciting to be able to work on boats like that, where you get the optimal performance out of it.
Yeah. I haven't had a lot of experience on the big supercharged or turbo boats, but certainly outboard runabouts. The Bullets, the Sonics, we're Sonic agents, or were, and so rigged quite a few of those, just as standard, like SMOC, standard motor open cockpit. And just got them going, as good as they would go, really.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. But yeah, just always got the old, what's the word? Lump in the throat on race days, Is it going to hang together? But that's dead standard. Nothing can really go wrong.
Yeah.
Apart from that time we blew all those engines up.
We're not meant to mention that time.
When you mention that, one little fishing story comes to mind. One long weekend, I think it was, Roscoe and I decided we'd do a little fishing trip up the Coromandel, but let's take the race boat. That was the black Sonic with the marlin on the side of it from memory, and so we got up early in the morning and headed up the Thames coast there, and put in sort of at the southern end of the Firth of Thames, and zoomed up to the mussel farms or the fishing grounds for a morning's fishing, and had a pretty successful morning, and binned up and thought, we're good to go, we're out of here in a couple of hours, we got a bin full of fish, and started zooming back down the coast, and halfway back we broke down. And
we run out of gas or broke down?
No, we broke. It was broke. We broke and ended up limping into Waiuba, I think it was, and I hitchhiked back to pick up the vehicle and trailer and come back, and so that was that day of fishing combined with a bit of boat racing as well.
Yeah.
Boat racing and hitchhiking.
Yeah. Well, I think every fisherman's had every single fisherman would have had a day like that, and it reminds me of that Saturday morning I came in here, Jono. So I went out off Raglan, got out there, went to start the boat, and it just wouldn't turn over. It was turning over, but it wouldn't fire. And I was just like, man, what's going on? And then I actually rang Max, and then Max was like, start it and let me listen to it. And he goes, well, it's turning over, like it's not getting any fuel. So they pulled all the fuel filters out, like checked all those, they were all clear. Nah, it's getting fuel, don't know what's going on. Anyway, he's like, oh, well, Jono will be there at 9 o'clock or whatever. Was that time you're here on a Saturday?
Yeah.
So I was like, alright, so I'm at Manu Bay boat ramp, there's probably like 60 boats waiting to get in, and I'm like, so do the walk of shame and back the trailer back down, put the boat on the trailer, drive all the way back into here, grab a coffee on the way, and then come and see Jono, and you happen to have a crank sensor, because it was a crank sensor fault, hey? Yeah, Jono happened to have one in his toolbox, and then sure enough, we put that on, fire it up, and it goes, and then alright, sweet, way you go. So I went back over to Raglan, launched at about 11 o'clock, I think it was, in the air, or 10:30, 11. Yeah, roll out to the fishing grounds, and it was a pretty slow day on the marlin. Not many people caught that day, but we got one. Yeah, rolled out, and I think I had a mate, good mate of mine, Glenn Horton, that I played rugby with in the Māori All Blacks, and his wife, she's Russian. He played rugby over there and brought back a Russian wife, and then she's a fiery wee thing, and we put her on the rod, and there was a whole lot of swear words. Nearly, I turned into like a skipper, leader man, and like a marriage counsellor all at once. But yeah, we managed to catch one and come back in, and saw a few people at the ramp when we got back in that obviously had seen us trying to go out in the morning, and they're, oh, did you get your boat going? I was like, yeah, we went back to Hamilton and got back, and then, oh, did you have any luck? And I'm like, yeah, no, we tagged one. And they're like, what? What time did you get out? And I said, oh, like 11 o'clock, thanks to Jono.
Did he drop you any fish? Oh, he tagged.
Nah, tagged it.
Oh,
let it
yeah, can't eat those.
No.
Oh, nah.
Yeah. All part of the service, eh, Jono?
Yeah, man.
Yep. Yeah, you've spent a fair bit of time on Mini Chiefy over the years.
Sure have, eh?
Helping it. Yeah, it's been such a good little boat though. I love that thing. And FC boats sort of came about off the back of the knowledge of boats around the racing and stuff for you, Ross?
That contributed to it. So I've always dived all the way through, so I sort of understand that side of the boating. Obviously fished, the whole way through. And we sold lots of Remcos. We sold different brands over the years, Bonitos, we sold Osprey, we've had Fireglass, and different, because we had another shop, the Auckland shop, and we had a Tarapa shop at one stage, so those are other stories. But so you sort of learn what boats go good, and they all go good in certain conditions. Everyone's got a strength and a weakness, so you try and work out what the neat things are that fishermen and divers and people want, and family people, what they want. And so I didn't think that we'd ever be a manufacturer. I really didn't. I thought, there's way too many manufacturers, and they're really good in New Zealand, and they build good boats in New Zealand, especially plate aluminium. I thought that'd be the last thing you'd want to get into, because it was so competitive. But back in the GFC, when things were bad and we were struggling to sell stuff, there was no entry level boats, and that's where I wandered around and I thought, shit, you can't buy anything for under about 25 grand, for the average guy to go out for a fish and just catch a few snapper. So that's where that FC 430 concept came from. And as soon as I started developing it, the ideas sort of flowed in from all the experience of the fishing and dive and racing. And you work out what's good and what's not, and you try and design that in at a reasonable price. And then that developed on when we built the bigger boats. For example, our bigger boats, our 560 upwards, have a ballast tank in the front of them. So when we're ski racing, we always race, and because you're trying to keep the skier on and beat the other skier, you want the boat to sit in the water and cut a track and go through, not bounce around and land and make a big hole that they have to ski through.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you want the boat to be smooth.
Yeah.
All right. So you imagine coming back, and I did this for many years from Mere Island. I'd be coming back fishing out there. I used to fish out there right through when we were selling all the tournament fishing and stuff like that, and you come back into that westerly wind and it's coming back at 20 knots and you're bouncing and smacking into waves, and I always thought to myself, I wish these boats had a ballast tank up the front that you could put 150, 200 kilos of water in it and smash through the waves like we do in the race boats. So when I started developing FC boats, I used that concept and put that into our bigger boats, and it costs a lot more to develop all the breather system and the pickup and the tank. But man, you get a 6 metre boat that handles like a 7 metre, or you get a 7 metre that handles like an 8.
Yeah.
Because you know, anybody will tell you that's experienced, if you go and put 6 dive tanks up the front of your boat, it'll ride better into a head sea.
Yeah.
It's just mass. You're putting weight in there and it blows the waves apart. But in a following sea, you want to be able to get rid of that weight, because you don't want the weight coming down and the nose coming down a swell and digging in and broaching. There's a lot of older boats, certain brands that used to do that, and they were quite dangerous, you know, in a following West Coast, especially on the West Coast, those big swells.
Yeah.
So the beautiful thing about a ballast tank is you get to a smoother ride in a head sea, but when you're in a following sea or in a calm sea, you get to dump the ballast, pull the lever, dump the ballast, and go on and get better fuel economy and not have the front heavy when you don't need it heavy. So it's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
We're the only ones so far that I know of in New Zealand or anywhere that I know of that have a fishing boat with a ballast tank up the front that you can fill up and drop.
Yeah, because some of them have them for like at rest state. Like further back.
And ours do flooding keel. So there is ones that do that.
Yeah.
But you can't lock that front third in. You can lock one of them, you can lock the whole lot in, but then the whole boat's heavier, but you really just want the front heavier.
Yeah, okay.
That's, you know, taking it to the extreme, trying to get the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, you know, and your little boat, you know, that little 465, that's got really wide chines on it for stability, it's got the extended gunnels, and it's got a built-in passive live bait tank. Well, you don't normally get stuff like that until you buy launches or big boats, so why not build those features into a small boat, and then it's a little bit drier, you know, like it's a little bit drier than not having the extended gunnels, and it's a bit more stable for its size. It's still only a small boat, but you can walk around in it, can't you?
Oh yeah, I can bloody stand 3 people on one side.
So have you walked around in a 14'6" fire end or a 3'6"?
My dad used to have one. We used to have to sit in the middle of it and not move.
Yeah. So how'd that go when you all walked to one side?
No, it was pretty scary. I remember nearly tipping out of it.
So that's
when I was a young fella. But I guess that's how boats have developed, eh?
Yeah. Well, you take the good ideas from some manufacturers and you mould them all together and you get something that works really well.
Yeah. In terms of the shop, Kev, you've mentioned it a lot with, talking about, what you're selling is that knowledge and that passion. Like, there must have been a ton of people come through that have worked under you in that showroom to some sort of extent. Like, it has.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So I look back on those 30 years, I guess. I don't know where those 30 years are gone, but we've certainly had a lot of staff come and go in the showroom there, and it's been a privilege to be a part and to meet all those people and be a part of, I guess, training them and imparting with some knowledge, industry knowledge and retail knowledge that I've gained over that period of time. A lot of those young guys have gone on, to work in the industry and are still working in the industry today. Which I'm pretty proud of. And they've done really well for themselves, either working in retail or wholesale. So it's been neat.
Well, yes, Ross.
Yeah, Scott Malcolm,
I know Scotty,
Yeah, well, he worked at our Auckland branch.
Yeah, I did a podcast with him about Dyer, and that came up in there, and he said that he was at Fish City up there.
Yeah, Mike Davis worked for us here. Renee Vaz, who is one of our suppliers now of all our sins and freshwater tackle. So
Richard Hart's got his shop, and Tiny that worked with us. He's in the archery.
Greg in the archery retail.
Greg Roberts.
Archery Derby.
Archery Derby. Oh, true.
Yeah, he worked here.
Far out.
So there's heaps.
There's a hell of an influence, on the market. when you start
Renee
thinking of that.
brings in Sims, and
Yeah.
so he's an importer now. He's got a really successful business. So
I just see you got a new boat too.
yeah,
So
or
that-
second FC.
Yeah, I saw Max towed. Well, I saw it here before Max towed it up to him. Was it last Friday? I think was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So he's a bit like you. He's a real competitive guy, Renee. He's fished in the New Zealand fly fishing team, and he's done really well at business, and
When they were here, when Renee was here, he used to go off and do that New Zealand fly fishing,
around the world.
Yeah. How long ago was he here? Was he local? Did
He
grow
just
up
worked
here?
sort of casual. He was a
Through
uni
uni.
student at that back in those days, and he used to help us out on a part-time casual basis.
Yeah.
Greg McKinney's got his own hunting and fishing shop now, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So from Auckland, so he's down the line. So we've got some.
It's pretty. It would be an awesome, part-time casual job if you're a uni student and that. Hey, if you're into fishing, just come in and.
I've lost count of how many different people we've hired over the years and given them a job over the summer.
Yeah.
Better than working at McDonald's.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Talk fishing.
Yeah.
And the last one's he's now lawyering, and he's a lawyer, old Jaden.
Yeah.
So it's really neat to see young guys come in and learn skill sets and grow, and they go away and then watch them, because we're getting older now. I'm nearly 60.
Yeah.
Jono, you've just touched that, haven't you, just recently? And Kev's a little bit younger, but Kev's a young fella, but we've watched a lot of guys come through. Be like an older coach in rugby, you watch a lot of guys come through and you see them develop, have families and move on and be successful. So it's pretty cool. It's quite a legacy that we're sort of, when we retire, we'll watch these young guys take over, like Max is really getting into it now, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that must be quite cool for you, Ross, to see the passion that Max has for the business and jumping in boots and all.
Yeah, and it wasn't that we never planned. I wasn't one of those parents that said, "Oh, my son's going to take over." That wasn't. But he just likes business management, and that's why he went and did his MBA, and he went and did that Icehouse course, and he's pretty good with numbers, and so a lot better than me, and good at detail like that. But he's probably still got some of my bad traits too. He's probably a bit like me, like father, like son, they say. so yeah, Kev's got to put up with two generations.
Yeah. For you, Kev, is it hard to, because we talk about that, I suppose, the passion, the people showing the passion and the knowledge, but to make sure that they're still in that retail mindset and not just down there just talking shit about fishing all day.
It's a case of managing that, and they've got to have a passion for fishing, and if that means talking to a customer for half an hour, often the person that does the most talking puts the most coin through the till. There's a lot to be said for that. We're all about relationship building here, and you attest to that.
Yeah.
And we've certainly built a lot of good relationships with our customers throughout the years, and a lot of those people come back, whether they stay in fishing or leave. A lot of them still remain friends, and that's probably been the neatest thing for me, is just meeting all those people over those years, and still seeing an old face come in the door, and you remember them by name and can have a yarn, so that's what we're about.
Yeah. Yeah, because I see it a lot when I'm here, is the guys, quite often, a customer will walk in and then they'll ask for someone by name, so you can clearly see that all those showroom boys have great relationships with their customers, and it's like watching two bloody old friends, like old high school friends come together.
Yeah, I've always encouraged them to have their little client base, and they'll have people that just want to deal with them, and that's fine, and then there's people that want to deal with one of the other guys, and that's just the way it is. But by and large, that's pretty much what we've been about, and as I say, we've met some neat people and made some great friends, as well as customers over the years.
Yeah. Has it, I suppose through that time, there obviously would have been, sticky points and stuff like that as well, with certain guys working the showroom together. Was there even, I guess we don't have to go into names or anything, but has it been hard to, I guess, manage that kind of
it's
relationship between?
Yeah, by and large, it's been a pretty good culture right the way through, and you try to instill that in your team. We've had the odd difficult things that we've had to deal with over the years, but every business has that.
Some people don't work out,
Yes,
they don't fit in with the culture, and they come in and and it's not nasty or anything, but they just don't fit in and they don't stay. Like if you don't fit in, you wouldn't want to be in that team. I'm sure you've been in the occasional rugby team that you thought wasn't quite what it was like. I don't know if you have or not.
No, definitely.
Some teams aren't quite what you want, and you think, oh no, that's not. Whether it's the coach or the culture or the club or whatever it is, but that's what this is like. It's a bit like a team, and we've had a few people that have come and gone, but you can't please everybody.
No.
It's always been quite tricky because we've diversified so much from a showroom point of view. We've sort of said we've got pretty much 4 or 5 areas of speciality down there. We've got saltwater fishing, freshwater fishing, marine chandlery and electronics, and of course the hunting side of things. So for me to try and manage my team and cover all of the bases in terms of knowledge, as well as having people with days off and sick and having that cover over all those areas of speciality is a bit of a trick at times, but that's just what we do,
Do you encourage the guys to share a lot of their knowledge internally with each other? So I'm just thinking of Brad and Dan, they seem to work really well together, and I've done a bit of fishing with them lately, but they're so different as people, but they just connect really well together. And do you encourage that Brad obviously freshwater specialist and loves his fly fishing, that he imparts that knowledge onto Dan?
We try to sort of cross train and train everyone to be able to help anyone out in any given area at any given time. Obviously, certain staff have strengths and weaknesses, and you sort of just got to work around that and try to gel the team accordingly.
It's pretty I guess for me, being an athlete and playing rugby for such a long time, that's what I love most about sport, is the whole team aspect and dealing with different personalities and different people are motivated by different things, so I've always found that really interesting. And I just seem, like I said earlier, I've said it a number of times, I love the balance that this place has. You come in and it's got a bit of everything within the team, and I think it's why it's kind of a bit contagious for me to be here, because I actually really enjoy being here. I love all the boys' sense of humour, and enjoy Scotty coming down and fucking digging the shit into me as he walks past. And,
So that's always been the goal and the challenge, is to try and have a diverse and good team. And as I say, offer the service and knowledge that we're proud of.
And let the guys work at their strengths too. So that's what I've always tried to do. You pick somebody out and they'll like doing a certain part of a job. So for example, Jono loves fixing boats, but he doesn't love dealing with customers on it. Like you don't hate it, but you don't want to do. You'd rather fix boats, So if I forced him to be the service manager that Scotty does, he might not have been here for 30 years because I would have put him in a job that he didn't love. Whereas I knew he stayed out there, so I've never made him. He's done it. He's filled in when we've been short.
When we first started, that was me.
You had to do everything.
Service, parts, receptionist, accountant,
cleaner.
I did a whole lot.
So but we all did when we first started. We had to do everything. But and same with Kevin. He loves detail. He's very good at stock management and pricing and picking the stock that sells well, and then you get some other guys that just love talking and being out with the people, and so everyone's got strengths, and that's just no different than a rugby team. Some guys will be you don't put the forwards out the back all the time. Occasionally they have to swap over, like we do.
Yep.
You know, the same thing, man. It's just it's funny how I didn't play much rugby, but I played a little bit of it, but the similarities and you see we're blessed with the All Blacks, and there's lots of books written about their culture and how they do that sort of thing, and so we've followed a lot of that. That's been one of my go-tos to try and have that same team culture, that if you drop the ball, man, no one goes around going, "Are you useless prick, what'd you do that for?" So we go and say, "Hey, what happened there? Why did you do that?" And we can get to the bottom of it. Usually everybody does the best that they're doing all the time. Nobody wants to stuff stuff up. Those cultures are fairly similar, I think, in a lot of ways. We all make mistakes. We've all crashed vehicles and bloody thing, you dent something, and it's no good going out there as the boss and toasting them, because nobody wants to make that mistake in the first place. They don't even need toasting.
They feel bad enough. You almost feel worse when you don't get told off, when you do something wrong. You're like, it'd be easier if I just got told off for that. I suppose for you, Jono, too, like out the back, a little bit less customer facing, but still a massive team of people. Like how many mechanics you got?
We've had 5. We've got 3 now. We lost one, and there's one in the service department now. Young Bailey, he's gone into help Scotty.
Gone into management
to the parts. So Bailey's an apprentice. Finlay's an apprentice. Young Ross out there, he was possibly my first apprentice. So he was here for, I don't know, obviously 3 years for an apprenticeship, maybe 5 or 6 years, and then he went away for about 14 or 15, and then he came back just to the counter one day. We were actually wanting a workshop mechanic, technician, and maybe a yardsman or a parts person. And I said g'day, shook his hand, said, "Which job do you want?" And he goes, "Well, actually, I am here for a job."
Oh, yeah.
So I said, "You just piss off back to home and get your toolbox and come back on Monday." And he pretty much did that. Once he settled up all his other affairs with the farm and whatever, because that's what he was doing, he was farming. And he's back with us now, and he's bloody good.
He's racing boats now.
He's racing boats.
He's ski racing his kids. He's towing his steer kids, and his little boy's got a race boat, so he's following the same thing with his children.
Oh, cool. We've had quite a few staff that have left and then come back again. Brad's one of those. Brad was actually worked part time for me here 5 or 6 years ago, and then went off and did his boat building apprenticeship, and now he's back working in retail. I'm loving it. So
and it's funny, because when you meet Brad as a person, and like his, I work with his cousin, and she says like, "Man, I couldn't imagine Brad working in retail," and I was like, "Yeah, but you don't know what he's passionate about." Like he is so passionate about his fly fishing, or just fishing in general, but more so the freshwater, the fly fishing, and it's like people change when they're in that, when you put them in there.
And they know
happy place.
They know what they're talking about.
He was extremely shy though when he first come to work here. As a young guy, but working in retail sort of helped sort of bring him out of his shell, and so when he's come back, he's hit the ground running.
Well, him and Dan are almost like the two boys down there now, are almost like the perfect marriage, because like Brad tones Dan down a bit, and then Dan brings this sort of life into Brad. It's interesting you talk about that culture thing too, because Brad talks a lot about that when we've been down on the river, and he really loves it here. He loves the whole team dynamic and the environment, and he feels like he's valued for what he does, and because I know that he didn't have a good experience where he was prior to here, so he's that's a real testament to the environment that you guys have created.
He's come back a different man, because when he was first here, we used to give him a bit of shit, and he just hated it. He got upset, and but now he just gives it back, or he'll give it first, and he's like a whole changed person.
Well, I guess that goes back to what you're talking about, and seeing the guys
watching them develop,
and grow.
As people.
No, it's pretty useful. you talk about that culture side of it, I suppose, and like with me, obviously playing professional sport, like that's everything to success. Like I've played in some, teams that have had amazing athletes and extremely talented, but if the culture's not right, you never get the results that you should. And then I played in
20% or something.
But then I played in teams that have nowhere near the talent of some of the other teams, and we've like done really, really well, and like one ran for the shields and titles and things like that. And you're just like, man. And it wasn't until I suppose a little bit later in my career that I actually realised what it was.
What culture was,
because everyone talks about it and it's like a feeling, like you know when you're in a good environment and a good culture, and you also know when you're in a bad one, but it's like what is it when you nut it down?
It's pretty intangible.
It's pretty intangible, but I actually had to do a team culture presentation, and I did it when I was working for Waikato Rugby in the community rugby space, and we did a coaching course, and then they asked me to do it, and I was like, how do I do this? Like how do you like, and they're like, I don't know, like it's a bit of a throwaway session. We talk about it and say it's important, but no one really knows how to like put their finger on it and like what it is. And so from that I was like, oh well, I'm going to do it properly. So I googled the word culture, and the one that like stood out to me was like the behavioural and attitude characteristics of a particular group. And I was like, oh, that to me that's like a group's a team, so I'm like it's the attitudes and the behaviour characteristics. So I was like, sweet. So then I dived into that, and then I pulled up all our footage of the season, because we went in 2017 we got relegated, 2018 we won the Ranfurly Shield and then won the championship, got promoted back into the premiership, and like turned our whole season around. Same group of guys, but all it was those attitudes and behaviours changed, and the way that we presented ourselves, not only at training and not only on the games on the weekend, but the way we trained, the way we were day to day. All of a sudden our changing room was a lot tidier. Like all those little behaviours changed. And we were held accountable to that by a good leader. So Jono and Kev came back and coached us, and it's someone with a lot of respect and mana, and especially in the Waikato. And then that was the catalyst for change. But then it was for me as a captain. The environment the year before I thought was really good, but we were all mates, but we weren't holding each other accountable when we needed to. Like we were all best of friends and we had a great time together, but we let things slide instead of like
pulling each other up.
And then the next year it was the same bunch of guys, but because we had already had that friendship, then we were aware that we needed to, do things a little bit better, because Jono made us aware of that. Then it was, because we had that respect, it was easy to be like, oh, come bro, we don't do that. Like, go pick that up. And you're like, oh yeah, sweet, oh sorry. And then you say it once and it's done.
And you don't have to nag and about it. They get it.
Yeah, they get it, and you're leading by example too, like I look at the three of yous and the way that you interact with customers, staff and everything, like you're setting the example, and that's why the team are that way. Like if you guys were shouting and every time they did something out of line, you'd have a very cagey work environment,
Well, that's the way I've always tried to run the showroom, is the old Richie McCaw thing, and just lead by example. I don't expect the guys down to do anything that I wouldn't worry about going down there and doing myself, So, I still get on the end of the vacuum cleaner and give the shop a clean. And that's just what we do.
And it sets a great example, like when you.
I think New Zealand's good at that, and I think that culture. I just spoke to my daughter who's in Spain at the moment, and she said she's having trouble. Her coach, who doesn't speak English and she doesn't speak Spanish, and he just yells and screams at the whole team the whole time, and like you mentioned the fiery Spanish, and she said, I can't believe it, because we don't do that here in New Zealand. And she's tried to have conversations and translate, but she said, it's just unbelievable, and everyone in the team is afraid, and there's no confidence in the team. And he's got, so running around screaming at people and yelling and carrying. I think New Zealand's very good at that. You don't see it very often in New Zealand, and I think people isolate themselves as soon as they do it, and then they isolate themselves from the whole team.
Yeah.
Then they don't fit in anymore. So I think New Zealand should be proud of that. That we're we've got pretty good work culture here in New Zealand. Look after our mates and that, and probably a lot of it comes from watching the All Blacks and studying how they behave, and they're a great example, to teach at the All Blacks and Waikato and the rugby, Canterbury, the whole thing. So it's quite a neat culture, So
yeah, you can learn a lot from sport, like
yeah.
The way I talk about it is it's the ultimate. It's like it's not like going to war, but it's like you're going to be put under immense pressure every week. Like you can't get that. Like business, you get points where there'll be a point in the year. I'm sure that like Christmas time's probably one here that you're like, oh man, we know it's coming and it's going to be here, but you don't get that every week, so you don't get to practice it. But once you've been here for 3, 4, 5 years, you know what Christmas is like. So you're like, you're going in, you're like, oh, it's going to be busy, but I've been here, I've done that. Where in sport, you get that chance every week, whether and then you go out there and you either win or you lose, and then you learn. Either way, you learn something, and then you get another chance to rinse and repeat it the next week.
You have to lose a few to enjoy the wins. If you're winning all the time, and it becomes like the kids that grow up in a good school with good sport and they don't ever lose anything. Then when they finally do have one, it's all devastating, isn't it? So it's hard. How do we cope with that? I want my participation certificate back.
I suppose the work environment has, society in general has got a little bit more like that. Like I've seen it a lot in the rugby with younger athletes coming in. Like that awareness seems to be a little bit less in younger people now. It's more like they want it now, and technology's probably got a big part to play. Do you find that different mindset or different challenges?
Yeah, we get the odd guy coming in telling us how to fix his engine because he's Googled, the misfire. It's got to be fuel, But I guess like is it social media or the internet and all that. There's so much information out there that a lot of people do go there first.
And it helps a lot of people too. There's a lot of basic things that you can do. Check that your kill switch is not turned off. Your lanyard's plugged in, and so there is some good stuff out there. But I suppose what you're saying is that they can get, and I'm the same with my motorbikes and that. You watch YouTube and you Google things and you become a bit of a self-proclaimed expert about something, but actually you're not. You really go and see the guy that really knows what he's doing. And you go, you can do that, but it'll do this, this, and this. So there's good and bad in a day. There's really good information sharing. Even when we started, Kevin, how we used to. Like you said, the main thing, we used to share information. We'd come in and a guy would say, hey, I want to go and catch a kingfish, and can you show me how to set up a live bait rig? Well, now you just go on YouTube, don't you? You want to do a live bait. So all that stuff's changed for you, hasn't it?
Definitely has changed. I think your customers are a lot more informed, not only from a product point of view, but also technique point of view and how to do things. That's thanks to the internet. But I'd like to think that that's part of our ethos is still being able to have that knowledge within the team. So if someone does come in that is complete newbie to fishing, we can still show them a knot or show them a rig or help them with their
And how do they decide online which is the best knot? So that's the problem. There's too much information out there, and you go, well, I just want to catch a snapper. Which knot do I tie? Which hook should I use? And these guys, we'll just break it down. We'll just get right to the guts of it and say, hey, if you're doing this and you're in this situation, if you're fishing on the west coast and you want to catch snapper, you need to drop a rig with an 8-ounce sinker and you whack it down there. And that's how it works.
Uncomplicate things.
Make it simplify it so that and cut through all the options that the internet has, which is millions, down to what really works in that area, because we've all fished in all the areas around here, like around. So whether you're at Mare Island or whether you're at Waihau Bay or Raglan or Carfield or whatever, so break it down and give them the, when you go into an appliance shop and you want to buy a TV, there's so many options. So we're the same. There's almost too many options. So that's that value that we can just narrow that down, save them time, get them the right gear and put them in the right direction, and off they go. Heaps of times we've done that and rigged up lures for guys, and they go out and they come, we've got a marlin on our first weekend, and we've rigged it up properly for them, showed them how to sharpen the hook, and so there's lots on the internet's really good, but man, you can actually go off track, can't you?
There's a lot of service line things that we no longer do that we used to back in the day. We used to service all fishing reels in store, as well as rebind all the rods and do a lot of that type of thing, which we sort of outsource now. But a lot of that back in the early days was all done in-house, so there was a lot of knowledge there and a lot of training on how to, pull things apart and fix things, and it was the old Kiwi number 8 wire mentality, we got people going and it's just what we did.
That's not because you can't do it, that's because we've got so much bigger that we can't cope with it. If we try to do it ourselves, Kevin would be fixing reels all day and building rods, so we'd have to outsource it because we just can't cope with the sheer volume of it, so we've got a really cool guy, a contractor that does that for us. So.
Because fishermen too, they are the ultimate researchers. All my mates that fish, they want knowledge, they hunt it, they search it, they talk to anyone about it, they'll try and get as much as they sort of can, but like you say, like this day and age, there's so much access to knowledge that it is still so important to be able to go to your local tackle store and get trusted, proven advice especially over 30 years experience,
Well, so much has changed in fishing over that time, like back when we first started, you put a ledger rig on and go out west and catch some snapper, or
there was no brainer,
or you'd straight line up at Coromandel, and they were really probably the two techniques. We had a bit of speed jigging back in those days as well. And that was revolutionary then, whereas now you've got soft bait and you've got slow jigging, slow pitch, every conceivable application you can think of, and it's certainly a lot more complex now than what it ever used to be.
Yeah. So the three of you would have done some fishing tournaments and stuff together over the years.
Yeah.
There must be some good stories from some of those.
Yeah, I did a lot of the tournaments with the Ramcos because I was promoting the Ramcos, so I wanted to see them out, in the marketplace, and I had. We've done a few tournaments and a few days together, but it was hard for me to go away with Kev because somebody had to be back here at the shop. So I'd be away fishing most of the time, and these guys would be back here working. So I don't know how popular I was, but it's sort of how it worked. But you've done a lot of trips, though.
We still did a lot of trips, and we did a few tournaments together and stuff. So
mixed it up, when we could, and. So a lot of game fishing tournaments at the Whangamata, Tauranga, Raglan, Carfield, Nationals. We used to do the Nationals, and that was funny because we'd have a Ramco, like a 7 metre Ramco or a 6.5 metre Ramco in those days, and we'd be fishing and we'd see where the bite was or the weather was, and we'd just drive through the night, like I'm talking from Waihau Bay to Tutukaka, and we drive through the night and take turns at sleeping and that, and then through the day when we were trolling and it was a bit quieter, the boys could have a bit of a sleep, and we just fished hard for those times. We were fishing up off North Cape. We got 3 marlin one year on the Nationals up off North Cape in that 140 metre patch just off the north there, and then we were down the Kaipara and went out through the Kaipara bar, and that was a big experience because that's a massive bar, that one.
Yeah, I've heard it.
It's bigger than Raglan. I don't like that.
Nah.
And we'd take the boat out of some of the stories, like take the boat out of Raglan when I had a diesel Ramco, and we trolled down State New Plymouth the night. So we troll all the way down there and stay there the night, and then troll all the way back, and Fished the Kings out of Arenco, you know, in the early days, and then also a couple of times at Ranfurly Banks out from Waihao Bay and Hicks Bay. So we had some pretty exciting trips around the place and towed up, you know, when we won Nationals we towed 3 4-wheel drives and we had a boat on, a trailer full of drums of fuel, like a fuel trailer, and a tractor. And we took that up to Taupura Bay, so we could put the boat in there with the tractor. We got up there and the tractor was useless. It was hopeless. So we ended up using the 4-wheel drives. But we learned how to tie 3 4-wheel drives together and tow the boat and up through the soft sand. So yeah, some pretty big adventures with trailer boats, and you learn a lot of shit of what works and beach launching and how to get things unstuck when you're in the sand, and so I've done a heap of stuff. And
I've been really privileged over the years to do a lot of supply trips as well, you know, so in conjunction with a lot of our good suppliers, which will, one of those guys will be here in a couple of weeks' time at our expo for our 30th, but yeah, done a lot of trips and over the years.
We're
pretty much all over the place. I've done lots of trips out to White Island and out to Ranfurly's, and
you've done Fiordland too, haven't you?
we down to Fiordland a couple of years ago, and so yeah, there's been a lot of supply trips over the years, and
it must be pretty exciting too for you, I suppose, when you've seen a massive evolution of what all three of you have of fishing and what it's done in the last 30 years. I think about just my time fishing, you know, the last sort of 15, 20 years, I suppose, when I've been more aware of and the changes that have gone on. Like, yeah, you would have been pretty excited, I suppose, when dealing with all those suppliers and they're like, oh, we've got this coming out, and oh, have you tried this? And yeah, those trips would have been a good time to, I suppose, get your hands actually on the gear.
That's right,
Yeah.
Yeah,
we've always had good gear, haven't we? We've been lucky, you know. We've always fit. Even you yourself have had nice gear. Jono looks after his gear, being a mechanic, always washes it and cleans it. So yeah, we've had some exciting. You know, when soft baiting first came out, you know, we got right into that, didn't we? All of us. And still enjoy it. You know, and that was a huge trend that wasn't there in New Zealand. And it took a lot of people a long time to work it out. Some of them still never do it or don't like it, but it's a really effective way.
Yeah, that was probably one of the biggest game changers technique-wise that we've experienced.
For snapper it was,
most definitely.
Yeah, well, it's sort of changed it's definitely changed the area in the water column that you fish for snapper. Because back, you know, when I grew up, you just big sinker and just bomb it to the bottom and you catch the scavengers, so-called snapper that just hang on the bottom, but you catch them on soft baits and you bloody cast your bait out and it drifts down bloody 2 meters and they grab it and you're like, what? And you're in 20 odd meters of water and you're like, hey, the snapper up that high. I never ever thought that, you know. And
soft baiting certainly sort of revolutionised the lure fishing aspect in New Zealand, you know, which was already happening overseas, especially in Australia with all the estuary fishing and shallow water fishing. But yeah, the soft baiting sort of was a game changer here, and then that led to all the other lure techniques that you see today.
Slow jigging, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I obviously spent some time in Japan. I remember some of the boys went out and did a charter fish, and they catch snapper over there just like our ones. And kennies, but the kennies are really little, and they went out and they're catching this nice snapper, like some of the biggest ones were 8-10 pounds, and I was like, oh, this is meat, and they're like, oh yeah, there's heaps bigger ones, but we can't catch them, just get off. And I'm like, what do you mean, what are you fishing with? And then they showed me and they're fishing with these tiny little setups, and I'm like, fuck, just go bloody buy that, take that out, put a big bait on, and you know, and they're like, oh no, you can't do that. And they're like, why not? Like, you'll catch the big ones, you won't lose it.
On it.
Yeah. They're like, oh no, you can't use that. But they're like, you know, they're very obviously methodical in their ways, and they're like, no, you don't fish for snapper like that. And I was like, yeah, but we do, and we get big ones. Like,
it's been a slow evolution to fishing lighter gear, and then obviously the braid coming on a grade and what have you. That's really changed that as well. Yeah, there is. It's taken a while, but people are slowly realising that they can actually have some fun catching even a small fish on light gear, you know, as opposed to just skull dragging them in.
Yeah, well, I've even seen like my dad, you know, changing. He never takes bait out anymore, but that's all he used to do is bait burley, stray line, and like, well, I won't say never, like we'll do that from time to time, but he loves his like slow jigging and his soft baiting and that, he really enjoys it.
Yeah,
and I suppose for all those years that he's fished, for something new like that to come in as, you know, reignites that fire and learn a new skill there.
It's so easy. I haven't taken bait on the boat for ages now. Even Majorly, she loves it. She'll just drop a slider down and I tell her just, you know, wind it slowly or just mix it up, give it a quick flick and go and get those tentacles moving and more. Oh, come on. The weekend just gone, she was playing the fish for like 15-20 minutes and she got so tired I had to take over. So I grabbed the rod and I had a look and I looked at the line and the line went down into the sea anchor and I went, oh fuck, she's caught this. She's caught around the sea anchor. So
you may have to edit that bit out.
So I wound it up. And sure enough.
You got it untangled and
just pulled the sea anchor up.
Oh, that's a bit mean.
Just the technology of the rods and reels. You know, like you used to fish off the wharfs for sprats with those little wee rods we use now. You know, the what they're made of and the reels with the drags and
so
gear ratios,
so good.
The strength and the power of them. Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah. That I did want to talk about, Jono. You New Zealand's first marine mechanical apprentice.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even a
very
thing.
first.
No,
The very
it wasn't a
first.
thing. No.
That's a hell of a title to have.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah.
He's the oldest qualified marine mechanic in New Zealand.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So it all began basically after school. My dad knew the owner of the boat shop, and so after school I'd go and sweep up, clean up, you know, put tools away, do that stuff. And then slowly I got little jobs to do, and then school holidays came. No, I'm going there. You know, Dad says, "You want to come here? Do you want to go here?" No, I want to go marine services. So that's me, school holidays, and just slowly got, you know, go and do the clean up, sweep the floor, put stuff away, and then slowly got given jobs, and then finally got to do Dad's old 1971 50 horse Merc, give it a service. And then, come end of school, I was offered an apprenticeship or to work there, so I said, yep, sweet, we'll do that. And started working and then went off, it must have been the Labour Department or something, I don't know, in the same street, Ross River Street, and went to apply for an apprenticeship. So, well, actually no, there isn't such a thing. So, okay. But we'll set one up, you know, so they went through all the things and set it all up for me. So I was meant to go to Manukau Tech and do block courses, but there was no other applicants. So we'll just let you know when someone else is going. It's like 3 years later, no one else went. But I went to Mercury because it was a Merc dealership. So I'd go to Mercury for a week and to the service schools up at Auckland and Onehunga, and just learned everything, not everything, but learned about what engines there were in those days, and 1980-ish, whatever it was, 79, 80 when I started. Plus still we had a foreman at the shop, so he'd been there, I don't know, 15, 20 years I suppose. So he taught me on site as well. And then 3 years was up, I got my apprenticeship certificate, like all the automotive guys got, the same yellow certificate, and that was it. She was all over.
Yeah.
And then not long after that, a foreman left, so left me to myself. So there was no one to ask for help or anything. I just had to work it out. But we did have a big library of service manuals, so that was my go-to.
Yeah.
You know, if I didn't know something, I'd go and read on how to do it. So that's my favourite quote now to the boys out here. When they ask me something, I go, RTFB. Read the effing book. Yeah. So that's it really. Rest is history.
Sure.
And just again with technology going from those old works in the 70s through to what we have today is just mind blowing. You know, if you'd never ever dream that was going to happen.
Evolution,
in 30 years. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
well, 42 years actually. I've been in the industry, but just
because if you go back 42 years prior, there probably wasn't a lot of change, really.
No, not really.
Yeah.
No. Oh, there sort of was. There was Johnson and Evinrude and Mercury, pretty much.
They were the two.
So Evinrude and Johnson were exactly the same engine.
Yeah.
Just a different brand, a different name, a different colour.
Yeah.
Mariner was similar, but Mariner was made in Japan. Mercury was made in the States. And then later on, there was some USA-made Mariners, because there were people out there that wouldn't buy Mercury, but they'd have a Mariner. You know, so that was kind of the thinking around that.
Yeah.
Every couple of years there was a new model out, like a new size, a new
There was
horsepower.
a horsepower race in those days. So well before your time, the outboards came out and they were small. You know, because an outboard was a new thing to have on the back of your boat to push your small boat along, and then they got them to 50 horsepower, and then they got them up to like 100 horsepower, and then they kept getting bigger and bigger, and then in the end, so they didn't care about fuel economy at all in those days.
Yeah.
So they guzzled lots of gas if you had a big one and you open it up.
Yeah.
But there was a big horsepower race between Mercury. The main race was Mercury and OMC,
Yeah.
which was Evinrude Johnson. So those guys were beating each other up, and they were propaganda. And there's a really good couple of books on that.
Yeah.
The development.
It's like an
of
arms
both
race.
It was.
Yeah.
Ollie Evinrude and Carl Kakefner were the two owners of the companies, and they used to go to racing and race each other, and they were sabotaging each other. It was ruthless.
Yeah.
So there was a race to bring bigger horsepower out all the time and top each other. So then they'd bring out, an inline, Mercury brought out an inline 6, and Evinrude Johnson brought out a V6, and Evinrude Johnson brought out a V8, and it just got out of control. Like they were building these things, and that all sort of changed about when we came into it in the 90s, 80s, 90s, and that, and then recently it's been all about emissions and getting fuel economy, getting emissions down, and making things more user friendly and less smoke, obviously, and so it's changed a lot. So the things that people want in outboards now is they want smoothness, they want quietness, and they want fuel economy. And
Complete opposite to...
but you can still buy as much horsepower as you want. So they do that, the manufacturers do that. The Mercury do now, you can buy a 600 horsepower outboard.
Yeah. There's one coming here.
Yeah, for our expo, we're going to have one of the 600s here.
Yeah.
V12.
That's amazing,
So that's pretty, and they're just unbelievable. I've been for a ride on over in Sydney when they released them, and they're quiet as, you got 600 horsepower, which is like race car. That's the same horsepower as an Aussie touring car. They're 650 horse or something like that. So similar horsepower. These things are whisper quiet. You can talk to each other when you're going along in your boat. And they've got 2-speed transmissions. They've got the gearboxes turn, and unbelievable technology, and so smooth. So that's what people want now. And they expect to get, they know they're going to get as much horsepower. In America, you can bolt 4 or 5 of those 600s on if you want, on a 70-foot fishing boat.
Yeah, I suppose it's a lot different too now, Jono. You plug a computer into a motor that would never have been a thing when you did your apprenticeship.
82, 84, I think was the first EFI fuel injected Merc, where you could plug in some diagnostic device.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
computer.
No,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just,
but like,
Get a flash gauge.
just
Yeah.
a flash gauge. It
Yeah.
told you if it was sparking here and the ejectors were injecting and stuff like that. And then there was a little thing called a DDT, digital diagnostic tester, that did read the computer, and it would go and check all the sensors and all that stuff, and it would pick up the faults. So that's when they have fault logging in the computers. If something went wrong with the engine, a sensor, or it overheated or whatever, it would log and keep a fault there. So you'd go and be able to read that and go, well, that's what's wrong with it. But yeah, and it's just the same today now, but there's so much more on the engines and within the boat, because a whole lot of stuff can be run in the boat from the engine, like what's it called? No, it'll come to me. NMEA. But yeah. So you can, on your multi-function display, your fish finder, you can see all your gauges up there.
Yeah.
When it's plugged into the engine with a special gateway. So to be able to use the laptop for diagnostics and find a misfire or a surge or something is really helpful. But it doesn't say, hey, it's that.
Yeah.
There's still other things that can be, and you have to still use your brain and know it out.
Yeah. Yeah. That I suppose that obviously the apprenticeship would have changed a shit ton for what the boys go through now, compared to what it was like for you. Yeah. Do you spend a lot of time with the apprentices, like on the floor here, like you have?
All day.
Yeah.
All day, every day. You know, they're just in there doing their own stuff, and I'm just alongside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm beside Finlay.
Yeah.
Keeping
Yeah. And they're always asking questions and this and that, and I'll just wander over and have a bit of a look and go, hey, do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose for you too, like what Kev was saying and Ross was saying, it must be awesome for you must have had a ton of guys come and work under you and seen them develop in themselves over time too.
Yeah, and again, there's been the odd one that have gone and set up their own marine shop as well, and I can't think how many apprentices have been through now, but
We would have I think we've got 8 apprentices between the boat building and the mechanicking and that. So and the rigging, grant side. So we've got about 8 currently. Of the 45 staff would be apprentices, because there's just not enough in the industry. You can't hire them. You can't put an ad in the paper and get a marine mechanic or a boat builder. So we've just got to train them up and have our own pathway for them.
Is it like an industry that a lot of people are wanting to get into?
I think so, but I think we don't have any trouble getting apprentices. So you've got to get good, bright young men that they've got work ethics and a few clues, and we don't have trouble getting apprentices, but there's not many qualified people just lying around. Saying, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. I'm a qualified marine mechanic. They will be snapped up, and no one wants to lose them, and and they're loyal. The bosses want them to stay, and they, hopefully they give them a good working environment, which is what we try and do here at work. Make it a fun place to work where you come and have a bit of fun and do all that, and get the job done, but enjoy yourself during that 8 or 9 hours, whatever you're doing a day.
Well, it's a big part of your life, your work life, so it needs to be a good environment. We've got a saying here, it's not a jail. If you don't like it, you should find something else. It's not a jail. You don't have to stay. Some of the Mercury trips was something that Max mentioned to talk about, and it'll be good when Jono comes back as well, but they've obviously been a big part of the journey of Fish City as a brand, and how big are they? Like,
So they have an incentive trip, so how Mercury have worked over the years, and Yamaha do the same thing, and what they do is that the top dealers in New Zealand and Australia, if you achieve your sales targets and your growth targets and your service targets, then you get into the top dealership category, and luckily we've always been in that top sort of top 5, and so we've been on most of the trips, and Mercury, to their credit, have put some wonderful trips on, and sent myself and partner around the world. I've done South Africa, I've done China, there was a Russia trip, all over the world. So they put these neat incentive trips on, you know, and obviously you've got to sell lots of motors and do good servicing and that, but you get them and you go away and you meet the other dealers. The great thing about it is that you meet these other dealers, so over the years I've become really good friends with the other Mercury dealers in the network, and some of them are very close friends that, you know, go fishing with, and I'm away with one of them next week looking at a boat. So those were really cool, those incentives, and they'd take us over to, I think Jono went to Australia, especially when they release new product, you know, so they do product releases and they do incentive trips, and so that's been good. We've had a lot of fun doing that. And South Africa was cool, going through all the game parks, and, you know, through the game park, and America a lot in Miami, and so yeah, I think Max is going on the next trip. Yeah.
So you don't miss my wedding.
Yeah, Jono's getting married, so I couldn't go. So I palmed on to Max, and he had to go to Miami and to the Miami Boat Show. Yeah, it's a hardship, isn't it? And then on to Vegas, and he likes the pokies, so he'll be in his element there. So
Because I didn't realise like how big Mercury is as a brand, and that because where they're based, what's
Fond du Lac, Wisconsin.
And the second biggest factory there makes the boxes that the motors go in, right?
In that town, in the town of in Fond du Lac,
the
second biggest employer is the cardboard box company that makes all the boxes for Mercury. So you either work at Mercury or the cardboard box company, or you're at the pub or the servo. It's a pretty small town, you know. Fond du Lac, and you go up there and they're driving red pickups, and it's cool. And it gets really cold in the winter, you know. Up North America, it's snow, you know, so it's up not far from the Great Lakes and up around Milwaukee and that. So done a lot of trips up there. When they bring new product, they take us down the lake and we go and test the boats and talk to the engineers. You know, I've talked to a lot of the head guys, the engineers over there that do the racing legs and the prop developers and things like that. But is it
true their props are all still ground by hand?
Yeah. So they mould them. I've watched the whole factory. They take us through to do factory tours. So they're all stainless. You know, I'm talking the stainless ones, the high performance ones. So they cast them out of wax. They make a mould and that, and then they've sort of put basically they put ceramic over the wax, and then they tip molten stainless into it, and then they break all that stuff off, and they get them for these grinders, and these guys are standing there grinding these props, and they're really good at it, and they joked about it, and they said, the young guys that live in Fond du Lac, if they're big guys, they get to go to the prop factory because they've got to hang on to these propellers all day, and they need strong arms, so you don't want skinny little fellas getting spat through the polisher and the grinder all the time. But they've got some amazing equipment, you know, and I'd have to say, and I can say it easily now, I've been through the Evinrude factory too when I was an Evinrude dealer, and Mercury had robotic painting and priming and all that stuff, and Evinrude was still painting stuff by hand, you know, so Evinrude made some neat stuff, and they were cool, but in the end they struggled even when BRP had them, and that's why they've closed down now, they're no longer, so, which is a shame, because it was a great brand, you know. And they built some neat stuff over the years, but they just didn't quite pick the right technology. They went two-stroke only with direct injection, and Mercury went $1 each way with the Optimax and the full strokes, and they wanted the market to tell them what was going to be successful. And in the end, full stroke won out, and so bang, they were in, and they
they're good.
whole now into full strokes. Optimax has been dropped, even though they were very successful. They don't make those.
So they don't make a two-stroke anymore?
They still make the little ones,
Oh, yeah.
mainly for the Pacific region that we're in.
Oh, okay.
Can't sell them in America. Can't
Oh,
sell them.
four-stroke
You
only.
can't sell them in Australia.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh.
So, but we don't have to regulate it here because we're so small that the market. So we sell more 4-strokes now than 2-strokes. So the market dictates the technology. Not government didn't have to step in and like they have in Australia. They have done it in Aussie.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
That's interesting, eh?
yeah. So you can still buy little 2-strokes up to 40 horsepower.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I had a 42-stroke on my 430.
Yep.
To live in it, that thing could go.
Yeah.
It was quick, eh?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they used to go to Mere Island and that, catch kingies in it. Sore arm at the end of the day though, like coming home into that westerly wind, bit of chop on the way home.
You know, I didn't design those to go to Mere Island.
Nah,
That was they were meant to be an inshore boat, not an offshore
yeah,
boat.
yeah. Well, then I upgraded. I went to a 465.
Oh yeah, really good.
Yeah.
What distance depicts offshore? So by the time you leave the mount, for example, you get a little bit offshore, then you start getting towards Mere, back onto the inshore again. So
Wow.
There's only a bit of offshore in the middle.
yeah.
About 15 knots of wind dictates when you want to be coming in a little boat.
Yeah, I suppose you never would have thought that little boat would have done what it's done.
Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I'd design that 465 and it would have an autopilot and full on outriggers and if how many marlin you put
22.
22 marlin.
Yeah.
That's sick, man. That's just that boat is designed for Fred and his mate or Fred and his wife to go up Coromandel or to pop out just along the coast and put the anchor out and build out and catch a few snapper and just have a bit of fun along the coast. It's not made to catch 22 marlin.
Nah.
So yeah, I don't know what you're doing, man.
Neither. But I don't know. Like it's interesting. It's been such an interesting journey, that boat, and I've got a lot of mates that have got bigger boats as well, and they come on it and fish for a day, and then we go in and then put it on the trailer, and then they sort of quite often see them sort of stand back and look at it, and they're like, can't believe how small that thing is, because when you're on it, it doesn't feel small. Like it's
stable.
It's so stable, but it's also like the space is really well.
Yeah.
It's well designed in terms of the deck. So everything has its place. Like I've spent a lot of time and got some great knowledge from people along the way to have everything where it should be, and it's so usable. So the space is just, you sit down
efficient.
and
It's
it's
real
real
efficient.
efficient.
So.
And then the boys, they laugh about it because they'll come on the boat and they think nothing of it, and then they'll go out on their boat and I'll see them out trolling one day, and then they'll come past and bro, that thing is so small. Like, or they'll see it on the trailer, with the bimini down and that. They're like, the thing's tiny. It's like the size of your car. Yeah. But it wasn't designed to do what it does, but it does it pretty well. But you got to pick your days too.
See, that's quite interesting. When I first did the 430, everyone said, "Oh, can you do a forward steer one?" And I said, "No, because that hull wasn't designed to be forward steer."
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I was lying in bed one night and I thought about putting a pod on the back and moving the engine further back that I could get the balance point.
Yeah, because otherwise it'd be too front heavy.
It would be dangerous, to do what you're doing. But when you get the balance of a boat right, it's perfect. It's like a surfboard, isn't it? If everyone goes out and stands on the front of the surfboard, you're not going to be able to surf. If you stand too far back, you're not going to be able to surf. If you're balanced properly, then the thing will handle properly and it will surf away. So your boats are exactly the same. They have to be balanced. And there's lots of unbalanced ones out there. So if you get a well-balanced boat and set up, so if you came to me now and said, "Oh, I want to put a 115 Mercury on there, like 75, I'd say no, because it will stuff the boat. It's not the power, it's the weight. So you've got to have all those things, and that's what we do. The guys that, like Michael Walkley, has got that 560 centre console, and he just fishes the crap out of that all over, like you do. And he's out in stuff that 7 metre boats should be in, but because it's a well balanced boat, well designed boat, you get away with it. But if you get it poorly balanced or poorly designed, then you won't get away with it. It won't be much fun at all. So,
Yeah, it's amazing how things have developed over time, eh?
yeah, it's and the motors are good, and the fuel economy is good, and the reliability is bloody good compared to what it used to be. It's like you don't get many people breaking down on their motors now. You get a few flat batteries and a few guys running out of gas, but you get the occasional breakdown. Whereas in the old days, with the 2-strokes in the 70s and 80s, it was quite common. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the new 4-strokes aren't a lot heavier than the 2-strokes either, like you'd think, it's 4-stroke, it's got camshaft and all that carry on and valves and a big sump of oil, but there might only be a few kgs between same horsepowers, or even lighter. The 4-stroke might be lighter than
the old 2-stroke.
The old 2-stroke we've just taken off,
Yeah.
And
got that caps.
just with what they're made of, lots of composites.
Yeah.
Plastics, composites, the inlet manifolds are a composite, they're not aluminium, so just lots of weight saving.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was the big thing when 4-strokes first came out, everyone's like, they're going to be too heavy.
They were,
and they were?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, so you couldn't, I suppose if it's a lot heavier, you'd have to go less horsepower.
Yeah, well, you needed more, and then if you needed more,
there's more than the boat needed to handle the weight.
If you need more, if it's heavy, you need a bit more, so then you got to go up a size and you get an even heavier one. So it's, it wasn't that good when they first come out. They were better in lots of things, but now they're just outstanding, aren't they? Like those the new V6s, V8s, the Suzuki's, the whole lot. The Suzuki's are a lovely motor, and they've offset their power head further forward. So that brings it might still be the same weight, but they brought the weight, and same thing, that balance, they bring that centre of mass closer into the middle of the boat, and that makes up for a little bit more weight. Yeah,
because when you look at the Suzuki's next to the Mercury's, that the actual head of the motor looks a lot smaller. Is that because it just is, this is me looking with an untrained eye and just looking at them sitting on the rack or on a boat outside, but is that just the weight is displaced differently? So it might not be as high on the top, but it's a bit deeper?
Be mostly the cowling shape configuration that looks like that. The
different series too, different horsepower, like the 100. Yeah. The 100 Suzuki is a smaller motor than the 115 or the
displacement.
Yeah.
But the Suzuki has its power head a little bit forward, and it drives the drive shaft by chain, so it's an offset, so it's more forward, so the shape of the cow might look different in the front than the back. And Mercury, like it or not, it's got the unusually shaped cowling, which we've all grown to like now, but when it first came out we were thinking, what is that?
Yeah.
You get used to it though.
Well, to me it's just normal, and I look at other ones and that's a funny shape. Yeah. But then I look and it's like, actually all the other ones look quite similar. In terms of with the store now, Kev, obviously with it going online, that must have been a huge shift as well for us going back to when you started, and now you've got to get your head around and manage that aspect of it too.
Yeah, that's right. It's added a whole other dynamic to what we do on a day-to-day basis. We tried to, we were actually ahead of our time with our e-commerce. Our first attempt at that was way back in the early 2000s, and at that stage online sales were just sort of taking off worldwide, so we gave it a lash, and we were shipping stuff all over the world, but unfortunately we were caught out by a considerable amount of fraud, and so that sort of put pay to that early or first attempt at the online business. We tried on a number of occasions after that to get the mix right and to make it work, and it's not an easy nut to crack that.
No.
eventually we, as Ross said earlier, you know, it's about having the right people doing the right job, and eventually we managed to get the right people on board with the right knowledge to make that work, and that was pre-COVID, just pre-COVID. We developed a website and started with that, and that worked pretty well, and since then there's been a couple of reincarnations of that website, and it's just grown from strength to strength from there. So yeah, it's certainly added another dimension to what we do, and was certainly a godsend and went really well throughout the COVID period of time, you know.
Talk about great timing though, because online shopping must have boomed through COVID,
That was a crazy time. We're only just sort of now getting back to sort of more pre-COVID trading trends. But yeah, for the last couple of years it's been pretty manic. Just trying to keep product on the floor at any given time from any given supplier has been probably one of the biggest challenges, and just the sheer demand during that time with the online sales and keeping on top of it.
Yeah, because it's an interesting one that because I think about it just in myself, like going and living in Japan for 6 years really ignited my fire and passion for my hunting and fishing in the outdoors, because I wasn't doing it and I didn't have access to it, and I definitely wasn't. I took it for granted because it was something I did growing up, and you know, I was sort of like, I enjoyed it, but I probably had kind of fallen out of love with it maybe. I still really enjoyed it when I went, but I didn't have that fire that I've got now. But I think the fire really got lit because it got taken away from me. And then I would go to Japan, and I was lucky I'd be home, you know, from New Zealand summer generally. Season would finish in February, or late January, early Feb, and I'd be back here from then through till some years I didn't go back till June. So I was in New Zealand for the the best part of it, get the summer game fishing in, and I caught that bug, so I was into that. Then you get the roar and duck shooting, and then I would bugger off when everyone hermited up through the winter, and I go back and do what I loved and play rugby and come back. But then I think about that personally, and how I felt when I came back. It was like, that's what I wanted to, any chance I could when I came home, that's all I wanted to do. And then COVID has like done it to the masses, so it got taken away from us as a country or as humans, and then all of a sudden people remembered, like, and some of the people probably didn't even do it that actively prior, but then all of a sudden boat sales go up, every online shopping goes up, but then it's all hobby based things that I've noticed.
I think COVID certainly made people take another look, a step back and have a look and just work out that, hey, life's too short to just work. You got to have a bit of play there as well, because you never know what's around the corner. And during those level sort of 3 periods of COVID, when people could go fishing, they couldn't go out in their boats, but they could do shore-based fishing. There was a huge influx in surf casters and that
kayak sails.
So it was interesting to watch that pattern evolve through that period of time.
Because it is. It's funny, like sometimes you got to have it taken away to realise how much you actually appreciate it and enjoy it. And the same around like you said there, the people have kind of realised that it's not all work. Like, make sure you make time for yourself and do the things that you love, because it was taken away from us. But I think you said there's been a massive shift in work as well. Like, now people are searching out jobs that have more flexibility rather than bigger salaries, and it's like, well, hang on, how much do I really need so that I can spend more time doing what I actually love doing, rather than maybe taking that big high paying job. Let's go to something that gives me a little bit more flexibility, that I can do the things that I actually enjoy outside of work.
That's right.
And even I suppose that again, like working in people trying to find ways to work in your passion as well. We're just saying how the passion when you get something gets taken away from you, Ross, like COVID taking away the outdoors and fishing for a lot of people and boating, how, you know, off the back of that, everything has just boomed. You know, boat sales went through the roof. Post, you know, people selling boats for bloody a shitload more than what they bought them for second hand, just because people realised how much they actually loved something when they couldn't actually do it, and then they started making time for that again.
Their mindset changed,
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah, obviously wasn't overseas travel either, you know, so that really contributed to a lot of that.
Yeah.
People were stuck here, and you know, what better thing to do than go fishing and boating.
Yeah, I didn't realise like how much we actually travel as a country. Like when you sort of, I started to think about it a little bit more when everyone sort of mentioned it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, like most of my friends would. You know, there's a fair chunk of my friends that will do an overseas holiday at some point every year. Oh, they turn the lights off on us.
Yo! Yeah, so there was a lot of personal travel, a lot of business travel, a lot of that. So all that resource, money, time, everybody stayed here. And when you're here, you know, like you go, hey, what are you going to do? And we're just like blessed with beautiful fishing and diving, and I think people reevaluated that and went, shit, actually we might get back into that. We used to do it, or maybe people had never done it, they discovered it, and so yeah, we've been flat out, which is quite a contrast to when the GFC hit back in 2007, and everybody, you know, the house prices dropped down and interest rates went up, and everybody stopped boating because they were too scared to spend any money. You know, everybody was struggling to pay their mortgage, and businesses were failing. So that was a global financial crisis. And that's what we thought was going to happen with this when we all got shut down. Remember, we all got sent home, and we're going, hey, I'm sorry guys, I don't know what's going on here, but go home and we'll work out a plan. We had to go home, Max and I are phoning each other, and we're working on budgets. We're going, what the hell's going to happen in the world? And everyone you talk to thought it was going to be worse than the global financial position. So yeah, and then we just sort of slowly worked out that, hey, this had happened and it was terrible around the world, but everybody was going to be staying put. So as soon as it was the gates, no, not the gates, as soon as we were allowed to, everyone got back into it and reinvigorated all that passion for fishing and diving and boating, and it's been flat out ever since.
Yeah, and then Kev was talking about the timing of the online sales too, like having the online store, you know, like up and running through that period, because we were saying that online sales must have boomed across like all industries really.
Well, it was the only way you could buy stuff. So
people are sitting at home still getting a wage and not having an outgoing and spends, no coffees and lunches and dinners and that sort of thing. There's all of a sudden there's surplus money sitting there, and they're like, oh, I want that really. Boom, I'm going to buy it.
Did you go out in your garage and clean all your fishing
and
stuff like
4
that?
times over.
I think we all did that. Cleaned out the shed. Cleaned out the spare room. And so, you know, might get a new reel to go with that really good rod that I haven't used yet. Oh, the other thing too is the club card, but you guys started that pretty early on too, eh? Yeah, so what was the thinking behind it? Was that you, Kev?
No, there was just something that we worked out needed to happen. It was obviously a loyalty program in its infancy. But it developed into something bigger than that, and it's something that we still use today, and we still have customers coming in today with their little gold card and presenting it at the counter. So it was a wonderful thing, and it just grew and grew to what it is today. Yeah,
because that wouldn't have been very common when did you start that?
Everyone talked about it in those days, but no one did it.
Yeah.
So that, you know, if you listen to all the business talk and read the magazines, and they're going, loyalty programs are big and that, but it was hard. When we tried to do it at first, we tried that first program that Nathan's dad wrote for us, and it just failed miserably. Like we couldn't integrate it into
Yeah, there wasn't the technology and systems
Oh,
that really could cope with the management of it in the
Yeah.
early days, but as things improve
Yeah,
from that
because I suppose
point of
you'd I suppose if you started right at the start, you would have to keep track of everything manually, right?
Well,
to
it
see
was,
what.
yeah. You signed up,
Yeah.
you wrote all your details on a piece of paper, which we
Yeah.
then inputted into a computer.
Into a 386
Yeah,
computer.
and developed a database that we then snail mailed newsletters to.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Yeah, we did.
yeah,
It was
So we
like,
had 2,000 or 3,000 people on snail mail, so it cost, but stamps were 45 cents in those days.
Yeah.
So it was different, and all that marketing's changed so much, and we're still doing the same thing now with our database and with specials and information and things like that, but it's all done by email, and so it's all about content now, and getting good content, good photos, and having good specials and things like that. And,
yeah,
and there's
the marketing side of things has certainly changed big
way
time.
different.
yeah.
From when we first started, it just was no digital at all.
Now it's all digital,
Yeah.
right? Like everyone wants it.
You don't
now.
nobody sends mail anymore, do they?
Nah.
Yeah,
There was
so-
newspapers, magazines, and radio,
Yeah,
and that was your lot pretty much.
and we did direct mail, which others didn't do, so that was quite
Yeah.
innovative
Nice
in the
personal
90s. Yeah,
touch, yeah.
personal, yeah.
Yeah,
So we did a lot of that, and there wasn't many others doing it, so we had a good advantage in those days. But it's developed and changed. So
Yeah.
business in 2022 is a lot different than it was in 1992.
yeah,
So
yeah. But the evolution of you guys as a team has been, I guess, why it still stands as it stands today. Well, it's probably, you'd probably argue the fact that it's probably stronger than ever.
possibly, yeah. We've got younger people around us now, and experts in those fields. We've got Josh,
You've got a marketing team,
marketing,
yeah.
some young guys in there that are really good at that stuff, and I couldn't do that, I can't do it, and the same, but Kev's had to change. I don't know how many business systems we've gone through with over the years, so we had a few changes there, and we've got several thousand stocks. But we're getting a bit boring here with our business detail. But
Yeah.
it's been a lot of change and
Yeah.
development. Yeah, we've watched lots of stuff happen, and we've had to keep up with it. And we've had to learn it all up. We didn't know computer skills when we
Yeah,
started.
that's right. We had to learn as we went along, and which we've done so,
Yeah,
and it's just part and parcel of
yeah, yeah. Because that there must be some customers that have been here since day one.
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
I had a gentleman in my office yesterday that popped in to say hello, and he said, "Oh, it's 30 years." He said, "I was there on the first day when you first opened."
yeah,
And he's brought several boats off us over the years, Mike Finlayson.
Oh yeah.
And he was club card number 1020 or something along those lines.
And we started at 1,000.
Started at 1,000.
Oh,
It was
okay.
like number 20.
yeah,
Yeah, so
Oh, right.
occasionally you'll get some of those first 100 customers in still.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. And
yeah.
they still come in and say good day.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, like when that would be a pretty kind of almost like special moment, eh? You think like, I was there day one. It'd be also, no doubt he'll be here the weekend of the
Yeah.
celebration.
Yeah,
sure
he
he
will. He's been
Yeah.
to a lot of cinemas and
Yeah.
seminars that we've done over the years. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty. I'm looking forward to that weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope so, because you're a guest speaker.
yeah. I have to decide what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, no, it'll be really good, just to have everybody together in one place for that weekend, suppliers and customers and staff.
Yeah, because it's cool too that it's for this place and for you guys and the journey that you've been on as a business, rather than I guess that kind of scenario happens at like a boat show or something like that, where all those suppliers and stuff are together and you see everybody. But this is different. Like they're here because of the relationship that you have with them, and it's like that mutual respect thing.
Yeah. You're pretty lucky. We've got good partnerships with our suppliers, which is part of our pillars. When we talk about our culture and that, it's about there's there's the team, you know, that's really important. We're a bit like a family, and then there's the suppliers, and we've got to do the right thing for them, and there's the customers, you know. So without any of those three, the whole thing doesn't work. So all we've got to do is gel all that together, which sounds really simple, but takes a little bit of doing, but that's important, you know. Gel those three together, and then it keeps going. And if you want to screw your suppliers all the time for the lowest deal, they soon get sick of that. You know, they don't give you the service, or you don't get the product, and if you try and put your prices up too much on your customers, you've got to have a fair price, but you still got to have some margin to run the business. So it's you know, like it's a pretty balanced. It's a balancing act that we have to pull off, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, pretty active minds, to be able to. You know, there's a lot to balance.
There's a lot going on here. It's a pretty complex little business model, really, for a small to medium-sized business. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot going on.
It's retail, you got service, you got manufacturing, all the marketing. You know, so it's a whole. You know, those are three different industries, all in one business. You know? So that's why I'm worn out, mate, and Max has taken over.
We've got no gear.
Yeah, we've got no gear, but I've got no gear left. No, we're worn out.
Is the team really excited about the 30th celebration, the weekend?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, all the conversations I've had with the store guys that I've been seeing, they're pretty excited about it.
We're giving away a boat, you know, it's $30,000 boat.
That's cool, though.
Somebody's going to be real happy. You know? So we've given away a few of those over the years. We've probably done, over the 30 years, we've probably done, I'm guessing, 10 or 12 giveaway boats or something like that around there. Whangamata tournament, gave away one, somebody won one with a big snapper one year, you know. Like,
possibly more if you count all the boating outdoors boats as well.
Well, that was probably 4 years, might have 10. So we've probably maybe more.
There's a Hurricane?
Hurricane?
Yeah, they do that.
They've done about 4 or 5.
You do the name, and
So that's cool, you know. And we've got some neat people that have won boats that have kept them. Some sell them.
Yep.
You know, I've had one family that said, "Oh, we don't like boating," and I took them out on the boat, and they said, "No, we're going to sell this." And they had young kids, and they were so rapt. You know, they got a nice chunk of cash and sold their boat, and other people have just kept them and love them to bits, and wouldn't never sell them. So it's that's been fun, and somebody's going to win that this. Is it this weekend? No, next weekend. Yeah,
next weekend,
On the
Is that drawn on the Sunday or the Saturday?
On
the Sunday.
Yeah, we draw it now.
When everyone's hungover.
Kev goes down, we randomly pick the numbers, and then they're gonna phone somebody, aren't they? Isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a live draw, and we'll phone the winning person up, and if they don't answer,
then it goes to someone else.
Oh.
Redraw.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, so they have to have their phone on them on Sunday.
Yeah.
So
or can they be here?
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah. They're here.
Yeah.
So.
Did you do that?
I'll be gutted, you'd be upset, if you were mowing the lawns and you didn't hear your phone ring.
I gave a TV away as a giveaway on one of my episodes. Heathcote Appliances and Panasonic sponsored a TV. It was Brendan McCullum's episode, actually, and then it was actually a good mate of mine won it, but the terms and conditions is they had to follow myself on Instagram, like the Real Tales of Swings, and then had to follow Heathcote Appliances as well.
Yeah,
and he even wasn't following Heathcote, so I had to redraw it.
So it got redrawn.
It got redrawn. And then another, someone else that I actually know, quite a good friend of my younger brother's won it actually, and he needs it more than the other guy did. So that's all right. The universe works in funny ways sometimes.
It does.
Yeah.
We used to do that when we won prizes in the fishing tournaments, that we'd be sponsoring the tournament.
Oh yeah.
And I'd fish in the tournament, and if we won the prizes, we'd quite often just go up to the guy, accept the prize, shake their hand and go, can you just do a lucky draw on that and give it back? And that was always popular, when you win something, give it back to the crowd. But I always said to my fishing, but they were gutted because all the guys that fished with me, they never won any prizes.
They'd be like,
I said, nah, sorry man, we're doing this through Fish City, we sponsored it, we can't go up there and clean all the prizes out. And they'll go, look at those bastards come over here, clean the prizes. So whenever we won it, we used to redonate it, which worked in our favour for the business. It was good, you were there to give, not to take. And we got a lot of business from that. A lot of people remember those days, and go, those guys they were good for the fishing community and sponsored a lot of kids fishing stuff, and all that stuff helps. Kevin's always working out sponsorship deals for schools and things like that. So,
We've done a lot of sponsorship over the years with not only fishing clubs but a lot of corporate sponsorships and schools. So that's been quite an enjoyable part of what we've done for a long time.
Yeah.
Good for the community and that,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm like a real strong believer in what goes around comes around. Like I think that's come from Dad. Like Mum and Dad, they're both very much that way inclined. But yeah, I've always, and I suppose as you get a bit older and a bit wiser and a bit more experienced, then you kind of see it actually happen. Coming back, and you're like, oh man, like that's what my old man talks about is actually. He's actually right.
He's not that silly old bastard he thought he was.
Yeah, so what? That sounds stupid. Why would I give that to them? Like I could have it. And then, sure enough, there's the universe. What did David Galbraith, mental skills coach that we had for the Chiefs, he talks about the universe's currency. Like it's you've got to pay your dues and then you'll get it in return. But it goes both ways. You've always got to. You got to give to be able to take, and if you give enough, you'll get the take when you need it.
No, it's sort of what we believe in here. So it's what we do. So help people out where you can.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have the beer currency when somebody wants something and we go, I've just got one here, box of beers, mate. And they go away happy.
You must have seen some interesting sights come through the service department, Jono, with some of the boats. There was a bit
Sure have, man.
Yeah.
Like, quite common is obviously they don't have a garage to put their boat in or to put any of their gear in, because when you take the cover off the boat, here's your rods, your reels, your tackle box, your wakeboard, your knee board, your skis, your life jackets. I can't
all
even
in the
move.
boat.
I can't even get in.
Yeah.
To service it.
Oh man. Yeah, and then we've got one customer. He's a he's a tinkerer.
Yeah.
And he bought a boat off us, and he must every minute spare he has, he makes something.
Out of wood.
Out of stainless, out of
wood, stainless.
the things that are bolted on, the little burley cages, the little in the anchor in the pod well, he's put a mesh across so his liveys don't jump out, and little hooks, and he loves inner tubes, bicycle inner tubes, because he doesn't have a bungee in sight, but he's got inner tubes with stainless hooks on them. He just makes everything, and he's just loaded this boat up with so many knickknacks. It's funny as.
It's like
Well, because I was here. Oh, it must have been this year, I think, and I was with Scotty down on the yard, and I didn't realise that how often rats do damage to boats and to motors and get in and they chew the wire. Is it the wire that they want? Yeah.
Plastic, there's a chemical in the plastic that they like eating.
True.
Yeah, and they eat it in the house wiring too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I was amazed because there was a boat down there and then he was showing me all the damage, and I was like, wow, how much? And he goes, we did a quote for insurance or whatever. It was like $17,500 worth of damage that just some rats had got in there and just chewed their way through everything.
So they can get into the engine through the hood and just chew the wiring on the engine.
Yeah.
So that needs a whole new wiring harness.
Plus a regulator, a voltage regulator,
just
alternator, all they just chew everything. Everything's buggered.
And then in the cabin behind the dash, they'll get in there and make a nest. They actually make nests and just chew that wiring and poop everywhere, and it just stinks. Yeah. There's been some funny things. Took the hood off the cowl off an engine, an E-Tech, and on the top of where the flywheel is, there was a nest with 3 eggs in it. Quite often we get birds' nests in them.
Yeah, so they obviously haven't used it in a while.
That's what happens, eh? Get a lot of non-use, you know. A lot of people buy a boat and then they get busy, and the kids are doing things, and hang on, it's 3 years and we haven't used the boat, and batteries are buggered and the fuel's stale. So those two things are the main thing. If you run it regularly and you keep the batteries topped up and put a bit of fresh fuel on occasionally, then boats will last for years. You know, they don't wear out because no one's lucky enough to have enough time to let it go and wear them out. You know? So it's mainly neglect and non-use that wears them out more than overuse, isn't it?
Yeah, because your steering will seize, batteries go flat, fuel goes stale, so then you've got to clean the carburetors.
So here's a good question for anyone that's listening, Jono. Have you ever seen a recreational fisherman wear out pistons, rings and bearings on a motor?
No.
Never.
No.
Never.
We had
not in 42 years.
No.
Not once.
We had a customer pass now,
Ethel?
Brinkworth.
Tony's dad.
Tony's dad, Graham Brinkworth, he had 175 V6 Merc, like early 70s, 80s, on his big old Condacraft, must have been 22 or 3 feet.
Big heavy
Then he bought a 200 horse Merc, and then Optimax came out and they claimed to use up to 45% less fuel. And he's going, oh no, there's no way it's going to be able to do that. So we said, Roscoe said, okay, Graham, we'll put this 150 Optimax on your boat, and if it doesn't work, we'll take it off you.
I said half. I said
if
it
it
was
doesn't-
half the fuel.
Half
the fuel and oil.
He's a big
that he
troller.
was using before.
Big,
And
like
he used to go
thousands of
fishing
hours.
out from Woody Angler.
Yeah.
And
So-
catch some solo.
Yeah.
Solo marlin fishing. He's
So-
pretty famous.
Yeah, so we did that, and off he went, and came back, said, I can't believe how little fuel it uses, and just runs beautifully, and he ended up buying 2 or 3 engines with over 1,500 hours on each. So no, they never wear out.
So people say, it's done a lot of hours, 300 hours, done 600 hours. Doesn't matter if it's done in the hour. Like we've seen, what are those riverboat? They do
3,500
3,500 hours.
on a couple of 115s,
Absolutely perfect.
on the river. Yeah.
So the motors are like taxis, they don't wear out, you know, they're hot running and that, so as long as you service them, and you keep your motors running, you don't put stale fuel with water through it, and you flush them, they're good, man, they go and go and go. So you see an outboard that's got a few hours on it, it's usually because the guy's been game fishing, he's doing 10-hour days. Whereas a snapper fisherman will do a 1 hour, half an hour out, half an hour back. He's got his limit and he's going home. So for him to do 800 hours, he's got to do a lot of trips. So the hours thing's not a bad thing on a motor.
No.
But when you're selling outboards, second-hand outboards, people freak out. So
Well, it's like cars too, Like people see, second-hand car and the K's of this, and it's like, but like
if you get a Rex car that's done 100,000 Ks in 2 years, then it's probably a good car because it's just been running at 100 Ks between town. Goes mint.
And because they're a company car, they get serviced well.
They get serviced.
So it's more the service history, just like an outboard, it's the service history of it, It's been looked after. Well, because mine, I've done 1,200 hours now. On mine.
Won't be worn out, man. The compressions will be mint. It'll double, triple, the whole lot. My old launch has done 8,000 hours. diesels, big old diesels, you know.
Mm.
And everyone's going, oh, that's a lot of hours. I'm going, not really. You know,
Yeah.
like the truck, imagine 8,000 hours in a truck, in a great big V8 diesel truck, it'd be nothing, you know. Do 8,000 hours, and we do 2,000 hours a year just on a 40-hour week, don't you?
Yeah.
You know, and those truck drivers don't do 40, they do 50, 60, 70-hour weeks.
Mm.
So, you know, 8,000 hours only 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Truckies will all know this stuff, they'll work it out. So,
Yeah.
but in a boat, it's the in-between that's not getting used.
That's the important
sitting
part.
there, the salt water and not being flushed and all that.
Yeah.
You've just got to keep your batteries charged and run the motor fortnightly until it's hot, and it doesn't know that it hasn't gone fishing. It's just got started up and warmed up.
Yeah.
It's lubricated, everything's moved. Turn your steering. Yeah, everything just stays good.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So once a fortnight, fire it up.
Yeah.
Crank it up for
It'll
10,
run.
15 minutes,
Yeah.
20 minutes at the most.
Yeah.
On the month.
On a Sunday, piss
Yeah.
the neighbours off.
Yeah.
About 7:30
Oh, that
on
doesn't
Sunday morning.
It doesn't.
Yeah, here's another question, because all the new motors now have like the, you know, like a hose point on the side that you just plug a hose in to flush it.
Yep.
Is that like, so you don't need to muff them?
I prefer to muff them,
Muff them.
but some camping grounds won't let you run the motors.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Maybe not so much now with 4 strokes, but certainly with the old 2 strokes. Come home later at night or whatever, early morning, fire them up and they're really loud. Yeah, that would work, and I would do that if I could not run it.
Yeah.
But it
If you
doesn't.
can run it.
Yeah, better to run it because the whole motor warms up, the thermostat's open, and the fresh water flushes those out and flushes out your heads and all that as well. Whereas that coastal flush doesn't tend to do that.
Yeah.
Well, you got every engine's got a thermostat in it,
Mm.
all right, to regulate its temperature, and it should run roughly at 82 degrees, or he'll know more about that, but roughly that's an engine runs at 80 odd degrees. And so when you cold flush it, that thermostat stays closed, so not much water, if any, gets through a whole section of the engine. So you're only half flushing it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not as good. It might come back up the other way. It's better than not doing it, but it's not as good. And the other thing important to note with that is that if you're fishing the next day, don't bother flushing it. You've got about 48 hours before the salt turns into crystals. So if it's wet overnight, it doesn't matter if you're going to put it back in the salt the next day. You don't need to flush it that night.
Yeah.
So if you're fishing Saturday and Sunday, don't
Flush
bother
it.
flushing it Saturday night.
Yeah. Just flush it on Sunday.
Just flush it on Sunday when you're finished and it's going back for a week.
Yeah.
And the motor inside is going to dry out and you get those hard white salt crystals. That's what blocks up the cooling system. And then if you get a cooling system block up, then it get a hot spot, and then you will get problems with rings or something like that in the bore, or something going wrong because it's hot, not because the thing's worn out through hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always cool. It's normally always cooling the ships, isn't it? So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's good to know. Good bit of knowledge there. Yeah, because I bet a lot of people don't like have that sort of depth of knowledge around it. They would just say, oh, well, it's got a hose clamp that you click your hose onto, and that's what you do. But yeah, to know that to me makes a whole bunch of sense. Yeah. But I suppose you get that with when you know what you're talking about, eh, John?
You do.
New Zealand's first apprentice.
so
you're the-
he's still learning.
Yeah, oldest apprentice. Well, I suppose it would, like, you know, just like downstairs, like you're constantly learning because things develop and there's new motors, new technology.
Yeah, well, that's one of the cool things about the industry we work in, eh? You never stop learning.
Yeah, we'd be bored,
Every day you
We'd be
learn
bored
something.
if we
You know?
learned. You couldn't do the same thing for 30 years if it didn't change a lot.
Yeah.
So we'd be
Imagine working on a dirty old inline 6 for 42 years.
But we've done that, and we've had a lot of changes with ourselves too. We went through that stage where we had the Auckland shops, like Kevin and I, you know, we did really well here. You know, the whole three of us did well in Hamilton, and then Mercury approached us and said, oh, you should go up to the North Shore. There's a real gap in the market for Mercury up there, and you'll do really well. So we did, and that was a mission, and we got a really good team together up there. But then I had to go up there, and Kev had to stay here and run this one, and so that was a big challenge for management. He had to do branch managing, and I had to go up there and form another team and interview and hire them and do all that, and ran that for 15 years up there. And then and during that time we also brought out Roger Gill Marine out to Rapa, and we took that over and put another team together out there, and then we closed that and merged that into this team, and then we started on the internet in those early days. We had that first website.
Yeah, I mentioned that to Swings earlier when you were out. What's
So,
happening there with the online journey?
Yeah, so we've had lots of journeys and challenges and all that stuff along the way. Plus, most of it's been good fun with good people.
Yeah. Well, and you talk we mentioned it earlier, when we're talking about the sports side of things. Like when you get those losses or challenges, that's when you learn and grow the most,
Yeah.
Yeah, we certainly had a lot of challenges over the years.
Yeah.
And as you say, you grow from them and learn from them.
Yeah. Going up to Albany, that must have been pretty daunting.
It was a big jump, I was younger and had a lot of enthusiasm and energy, and a bit like Max now, and I'm going, hey, well, this is one shop's really good in Hamilton, and two must be better.
Yeah.
You learn a lot from that, and we had some fun times up there and a great team up there, and still friends with a lot of those guys up there, and.
I think that period of time really sort of was a time when we put a lot of procedures and systems in place too, which sort of helped.
Yeah. Well, I suppose ultimately it would have helped this place, right?
Yeah, we had to, because we were trying to run two, and there's lots of staff and lots of everything happening all over the place, and if it's all loose and you don't know what's going on, so you need to be able to measure it and know what's going and what's working and what's not. And so it's been a pretty challenging but interesting and rewarding sort of 30 years, really.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Have you had any real odd requests come in to the showroom?
Probably forgotten more than I remember. But we've had some strange things happen over the years, and nothing really springs to mind.
I can remember one.
What was that?
Old Swanee one day definitely was selling tackle. Dominatrix came in and wanted to buy a whole lot of big sinkers so that she could hang them off men's testicles.
Poker bombs,
Big poker bombs. Hang on, guys. You asked for it, man. You asked. You see it. Have you had some unusual one? So we had that. We had another lady that called in that wanted to buy some flares to take on the aeroplane. She was going overseas on the aeroplane, and in case it was going to crash, she wanted to have her own personal flares on board. So that didn't work out. We talked her out of that because they're not going to get through customs.
we still to this day get the odd phone call. Can I order 3 fish and $2 chips, please?
Oh yeah,
because we're Fish City, the fish and chip shop.
Yeah.
Or the aquarium question.
Yeah.
You sell goldfish.
So it's fun. It's good fun, man.
Yeah.
And we've had some staff members ring up the shop and then get hold of one of the other guys and talk about eating bonito and cooking it and what's the best way to cook it. And
there's been plenty of pranks over the years.
Funny shit like that.
Yeah. The boys all sitting out the back in the service bay having a laugh.
There's plenty of that been going on.
Yeah. Yeah, that must be a different dynamic too, because the boys out the back aren't so much customer facing, a bit more banter. Isn't that out there, Jono?
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
it's funny, yes.
Not quite as politically correct out the back there, eh?
Oh, no, it isn't.
So you're well suited to that?
not as woke as we are in the showroom. That's a trendy word, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a trendy word. Yeah. Has there have many people come in to work here and then ended up going into different areas? Like came in and were in the showroom and then ended up down like parts, or decided, oh, actually, I want to
Well,
be a
Grant,
mechanic?
who's probably our 4th longest serving staff member, he's worked in the showroom on 2 occasions. He's worked in the workshop as a technician, and now he's heading up the rigging bay.
He's a chief rigger.
Yeah.
So he's a marine mechanic by trade, so he came to work as a mechanic. I
He
think,
did,
first.
yeah. I knew him back in How's the Marine days when he used to work there.
80s.
And also Mason Walker Marine.
Yep.
Yeah, he was there. Then he disappeared, and then he turned up one day.
And he's also left and come back.
Yeah.
He went and worked twice.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah. And he went and worked at Dicky Boats down in Wakatani. He went down there and came back. And he also went and worked for the cow, the
LIC.
LIC.
Yeah.
The breeding. He went there for a while and came back. And he's now rigging. He's our chief rigger over there. He's just immaculate at putting the boats together. He's the guy that fits all the new boats out, all the big ones and that.
Yeah, I went over and had a look at the new, the amphibious that's getting built for the people with the wheelchairs.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Max took me over there, and met him, and
It's got the seakeeper and
and then you look at that thing, and Max was showing me all the batteries, and you see all the cable. I was like, whoa, like that.
spaceship.
Yeah. I was like, wow, that gives me a headache just looking at it.
And it's all got to work and be reliable and last forever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, that's even like my boat when I came and had a look when the autopilot and all that went in and pulled all the wiring out and then put all the new wiring in and that, and I looked at it, I was like, well, there's a lot that, when you get something and you use it and you think like, oh yeah, autopilot's like this little screen that you press and it holds a heading course, so that's cool, but it's what goes in behind that to make that work, and then trying to fit all that in and have it like efficient.
Especially in a very small boat. It's not meant to have all that stuff.
No, not at all.
When you get customers that put too much shit in their boat.
Yeah. I must be a headache for you guys.
No,
And you know what, Dwayne? There's no more room in your boat for anything else.
Yeah. Okay, I can't get a seakeeper.
Oh,
Yeah, no, there isn't. There definitely isn't anymore.
not an inch.
No, I've utilised every bit of space.
Yeah.
But that, Johnny, because you've done like a little, like back to because people will look at my boat and there wouldn't be many 60 horsepower motors that have done 1,200 hours. But that thing doesn't miss a beat. Like it's had a few little, that crank sensor going, but it wasn't amazing. We fixed that in it took you 2 minutes. But that in terms of people would look at that and go, oh, I wouldn't touch it because it's done 1,200 hours. But that thing, I have so much confidence in it. Yeah.
Well, when they developed that 60, that was the benchmark for all the other bigger motors, and they've just been faultless, really. Like the 60s, the Tiger Sharks, they've all had their little faults, but for the most part, they've just been really all this new stuff has.
It's usually a sensor or some little component. It's probably a component that Mercury don't make, but they buy it. So that crank sensor is probably made in Mexico or something like that, and 1 in 1,000 might fail. So they're pretty, and all of them are, all the new motors now, and we're not just saying Mercury. Yamaha make good product too. So there's mainly got your Yamaha and your Suzuki's and your Mercs are your main ones, and there's a few others, Hondas and Tatsu and bits and pieces like that. So, but the manufacturing nowadays is so good and precise. Everything's done on CNC machines, and it's not like the old days where you had to have a skilled guy out there and he could build a crankshaft, but the other guy next to him wasn't so good at it. So if you got one of his, you could don't motor. So it's a lot of it's all automated now. And when you go and look at the factory now from what it was 20, 30 years ago, it's all way different. It's real high tech manufacturing over there, and same with Suzuki.
Yeah.
Japanese ones. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because my yeah, like the only thing I've had with that motor has been that crank sensor, and then the throttle sensor, because the throttle sits in one spot all day.
No, wore it out.
Just wore it out, and then like that's literally the only things that I've had. Yeah, go wrong with it. Pretty bloody reliable, touch wood.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share with the?
No, mate. I think you've covered off the 30 years and how we came about and what we've done. And
Yeah.
yeah.
None of you three have had time away from here in that 30 years? No.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago.
A couple of weeks ago.
We went to Raro.
Oh yeah.
We went to Rarotonga. That was my sort of treat for the boys being 30 years. So
Yeah.
shouted them and the wives up to Rarotonga, and we all went up there. And my missus brought the wrong passport, so she couldn't get on the aeroplane. so she got sent back to Cambridge to get the right passport. Had to buy a new ticket.
Yeah.
I got up there, and then the next day I got COVID.
Oh.
So I was 4 days crook in Rarotonga. All these guys are jetting around on their motorbikes and cars and having a great time laughing at me.
Yeah.
That's how it goes, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Nice bit of karma for all those fishing trips you did while they were working. Universe's currency.
Oh shit! I must have done something wrong to deserve that. I hadn't caught it, you know. Everyone else had it. Everybody else around here's had it.
Yeah.
Not me, not Jono.
Oh, you haven't had it, Jono?
No, not yet.
No.
And I sat next to Roscoe on the plane.
Yeah, we sat next to each other. And,
Oh, true.
Yeah.
but we.
Superhuman.
Yeah, and I'm going, no, I'm not getting that. I haven't had it. Everyone else is around me's had it, and next minute I was bloody sweating and carrying on, and it wasn't much fun, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we got through that. We got home safe.
Yeah.
You guys still had a good trip.
Yeah. It was neat.
Yeah. Did you do some fishing up there? Nah, just kick back, relax.
That's 30 years
Tried to-
of fishing. 30
Tried
years of the fishing industry. We're looking at it and go, no, we don't want to go fishing.
Yeah.
I didn't service any outboards either.
Yeah.
I bet you looked at them all
You're like, oh, what has he done to that?
Oh, I looked, Yamaha, Mercury, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a good trip, and that was just the other day, and now I've got the birthday, and then who knows what's going to happen in the next 30.
Rest is history.
Yeah. So
Nah, cool. Thanks. Thanks so much for your guys' time. Like, it's been pretty cool to sit here, and I guess from a customer point of view, and then I suppose probably almost a little bit more than a customer. I spend that much time here now, and I've been involved with the business. So I take my hat off to you guys and what you've created here, and that team culture really shines through, and that to me that's what brings success. You know, you create a good environment where people feel valued and they enjoy being in that space, and they're passionate about what they do. Then that's when you get success. And you know, it's a credit to the three of you that you've been able to manage that relationship, not only with each other but also with your staff over the years. And you know, talked about the influence and stuff on the market, and you mentioned, you know, some of the names that you mentioned, and they've gone on and they own hunting and fishing and their own tackle stores and stuff. So your influence on them, or you know, Scotty's the manager for Daiwa, and he was up in Albany. So you've all of a sudden you've created this, you know, like a really big impression on the market from, you know, three guys deciding, oh, let's give it a crack 30 years ago. Yeah. So yeah, no, I take my hat off to you guys for what you've done, and thank you very much for what you've provided our community here in the Waikato, and now with the online store available across New Zealand.
Cheers, man.
Thanks
very much.
Cheers, mates.
Thank you.